was gonna call you and I just never went. I had 2 doctor's
Oh,
appointments,
that's all right.
2 cemeteries this week, burying
Yeah.
all my damn friends.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's all right.
But I was
I just-
thinking about you anyhow.
Yeah, okay.
To enable audio controls, please enter your audio PIN followed by the pound or hash sign. If you do not have a PIN, just press pound or hash. This conference will now be recorded.
I need to erase my emails on my city council emails, cause I got 700 and, I don't know, that they haven't even looked at, 700 something emails.
I go through them once a week or.
Get rid of them, yeah.
I guess I ought to do that too. I don't know how. I guess I'll figure it out.
My wife's, I ain't never seen it, but
Oh, I do, I can't stand,
I don't like it.
I've got 700, look, 726 emails in the box. And then I get stuff like this,
Please enter your
Next,
access
move
code
through.
followed by the
on weight loss, I'm thinking,
You doing weight loss?
no,
Oh,
the
that's-
doctor
To
told me
enable
he told
audio
me that I
Maybe
need
they
to
should
Please
Yes,
enter your
you
audio
told me that I
PIN
need to start
followed by the
watching
pound
my
or hash sign.
diet.
If you do not
You know,
have a
watch
PIN,
my waistline.
just
and I got
conference
that
will
now.
not be recorded.
So,
You see it?
I've done exactly like he said.
Ready?
I hope we get home. They may have a good chance, they may not, who knows? Yeah. No, we shall see.
Well, I've got 5 o'clock. Hello, everyone. This is Conley Bass. It's been properly noticed that there would be a workshop of the Bruceville-Eddy City Council to be held September the 9th, 2021 at 5 p.m. It is now 5 p.m. and this workshop is now open. If you're joining by teleconference, dial 1-646-749-3335, access code 273-230-301. You can also watch this live on YouTube. Please mute your phones and computers to avoid any interference during the meeting. The workshop agenda is council to discuss all items on the agenda and city administrators update the city council discuss concerns. Sonny Bishop, the city administrator. This,
Oh, turn on?
yeah, my thing has got a red light on it. Is the battery down?
Shouldn't be, but. Mine has the red light. It came on green.
Mine's green.
Well, it says my battery's dead. But I don't need mine.
They're mine green too.
My battery. No,
I need to invest in some chargeable ones. Here you go.
yeah, because I so weak.
Yeah. Hang on. Update cancel worker on the road closure. While I do this.
Did y'all get the email about, Bruce Street and be closed next Thursday?
On the 16th.
On 16th?
Yeah,
Did y'all get that email?
yeah, I
Okay.
got the email. Bruce Street will be closed on the 16th.
Yeah, they're doing maintenance on the railroad across,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there in Bruce, in Bruceville. Bruce Street and
To know everything.
When they started that, maybe it was more relief, maybe the problem, I don't know.
Oh, good. Is it okay with y'all if I do my administrative report real quick?
Go for it.
I have to read it. So first off, I've been doing some research on the ordinances and online about the Google Docs thing. Mr. Wiggins, Ms. Owens, and Pam and I met on the 7th of September at 9 a.m. and we contacted Franklin with Franklin Publishing, and we got some advice regarding our ordinances, and we verified the ordinances have been updated. However, there was one that was missing, and that was the smoking one, and since then sent that to them. During that conversation, we were informed that we could do a quarterly update, yearly update, and so on and so forth. So it's going to be on our next agenda to have council to consider or possibly take action on making it where we do Franklin Publishing quarterly. The reason we are suggesting that is because it's a safer avenue. Franklin, they go through it and they make sure everything's legal, they make sure everything's worded correctly, they verify everything. Also with Google Docs, there is a risk of hacking. It's easier to hack into that, to be able to get into your computer programs. So they strongly discourage that. So that's going to be on the agenda upcoming. Then Pat, I cannot pronounce her last name. She dropped off a resume and a letter donating 10 hours to analyze the existing water supply infrastructure. And I'm going to put that on the next agenda so y'all can look at her resume and maybe talk to her.
What was her name?
Pat
Colton.
Colton.
Yeah, I thought she was talking here.
Yes, sir.
I've talked to her before.
I guess she has like a doctorate and she's got a lot of experience and all that stuff.
She
She
likes to
seemed
argue.
very logical.
She likes to argue, I'll tell you that.
But that's, don't be all.
Putting on this council.
I think all it's hard.
I just thought I'd put that out there.
Anyway, so that's gonna be coming up on a future thing. That if y'all are gonna allow her to, donate 10 hours or not, it's a council decision, it's not my decision. From now on, if anybody wants to volunteer anything on the city, it's gonna go to council, and council will be the ones making the decision. And then we'll have a contract that we can say, okay, you're donating this, that costs us anything. Lloyd Thomas emailed me today asking if y'all have anything about the comprehensive plan. We have that meeting coming up on September 20th. Y'all all have a copy of the comprehensive plan. He wanted y'all to read through it and get ideas on areas y'all thought needed work or advice, whatever. He's asking if y'all could please email me so I can get those over to he and Kayla. So just a reminder on that. There were some questions 2 days ago about the tax rates, and Mr. Wiggins and Pam and myself, we got on the phone with McLennan County with Tammy Mueller, and we were able to resolve the issue before it came to tonight's meeting. And what it is our city falls under a simplified tax rate using the units, using taxing units in section 26.052. So we follow different publishing regulations and so on and so forth. So if you have a citizen that's saying, oh, y'all didn't publish the article right, or y'all didn't do it right, actually we did under the section 26052 of the Texas law. I reached out to Waco Paving about handicap parking, and Mr. Williams, emailed me back, and he said that he spoke with his boss. They are scheduling late October due to the shortage of concrete, nationwide concrete shortage.
Yeah.
So, in saying that, we may have to do, I mean, obviously we can't make them come faster, they don't have concrete, but, we may have to move some money around later out of the fund balance. May have to bump it because it's gonna go back in the fund balance for this year. So we may have to do an ordinance to change the budget a little bit when that happens. The sewer, I contacted Stephanie Schwab because she has had the documents for the sewer. She's had them for a little over 4 or 5 months now. We haven't had any update back. So I emailed her to ask her where they're at because they have to give us documents that we have to give back to USDA. And that is part of our letter of conditions. She emailed us back on the 8th of September, yesterday, and she asked for some more documents, and Pam emailed those to her yesterday. So that's everything on that. The bulletproof glass, the city attorney has contacted them via letter, they tried to contact them by phone, they had no luck as well. So I don't have any other update on that except for the lawyer has made, letter, has sent a letter to them, asking for the money and our legal fees.
Are we gonna continue waiting on them or get somebody else to do it?
That is something that I'm gonna put on the next agenda for y'all to decide. If y'all wanna, if y'all wanna go back to bid, if y'all wanna have quotes done.
The letter, if I remember right, had like October 15th as a deadline, is that right? Okay.
Yes,
Either asking for our money back or do something.
Yeah.
Now, he's had ample opportunity to make it right, he still hasn't made any.
I guess that's all up to the attorney way again.
So the attorney's still on that.
Did
Then,
we have more than one bid on that?
well, we had gotten 3 quotes, but we decided that we're gonna do the sealed bid process. When you do the sealed bid process, state law requires you for the 50,000, but if you're doing a small job like this, you don't legally have to do the sealed bid. But what the sealed bids do, the pro with that, the definite positive of it is, it keeps from what happened in this building, where like, say I have friends that do bulletproof glass, and I'm like, hey, this guy quoted me this much, and here's his quote, and then he can underquote it. It eliminates that risk. The downside is, a lot of companies aren't gonna waste their time to do a sealed bid, because they know that the state law doesn't require it, and right now, with shortage of staff and materials, people just aren't gonna do the sealed bid. So if something council needs to really think about, do y'all wanna do the sealed bid thing again, and take a chance on this happening again, or do y'all wanna just get quotes and then go through the quotes? If we do the quotes, I would like to suggest, because I want to protect myself as well as the city, and I want to remove any risk to be involved, I would like to ask that at least one council member volunteer to be the person who reviews the quotes and would be like the contact person as well as myself. That way, nobody can say, well, Sonia's letting her friend do this, or Sonia's only getting quotes with certain people. If there's a council member involved, it alleviates some of the risk, if y'all decide to go with quotes. Again, that's going to be on the next agenda, and it's completely up to y'all, whatever y'all want to support it, obviously. The last thing is, we had a water committee meeting on the 1st of September at 1 p.m. And during this meeting, Mr. Talbert and I spoke very briefly about the investments. And I know the investments is one of the things that we were talking about a month or so ago. Mr. Talbert had suggested maybe to hold off on the investments or moving any of the money right now, but he's been in contact with the bank and he would like for us to hold off right now. So that's kind of the things that I think that I basically touched on that we've been talking for the last few months about. Yes, sir.
Well, you told me last time about the investment, you know, it would be a good while. So I pursued it, and I got the letter from Mr. Turner. It's written, but because of the busy schedule of everyone, I had to put it back on the agenda, so
Okay.
I'm with you on that, we just.
Yeah, and I just want to let the other council members know why I haven't actively worked on the investment.
I can
Because it was on the agenda a while back.
If they like, I can basically tell you. But if
It's
you
okay.
don't want to, it's whatever y'all wish to do.
I'll have it, if you want to wait, let me just finish these last 3
Sure.
things, and then you can work
Absolutely.
on that part.
Well, this may not be time good, that's really.
Oh, okay.
I don't know whatever y'all want to do.
The other thing is just a reminder, Pam has sent out an email that on September the 16th from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., Bruce Street is going to be closed. They're going to be doing some railroad upgrades, I guess, so they're going to have a road closure. And then the other final thing that I have, 2 things. Horseshoe Bend today has been completely cleaned on both sides. The mayor signed an interlocal agreement with Gwinnett County. They did it for $720 because I have one employee that had a heat-related illness last week, and he still is not recovered. We thought he was doing better, but he's actually back home, having dizzy spells. He's not feeling the way.
Who is it?
Johnny.
Anybody, but
Yeah, so he hasn't been doing so well, so he's been home. So just not having the manpower, it was just cost effective just to pay the Gwinnett County the $720, get that area cleaned up, and get that all resolved, so that won't be a problem anymore. So, and then one final thing, this is not cancel related, but it is community related. And that is on September 25th, there's going to be a fundraiser for K-Bass at the Methodist Church. I think it's okay to say that Mayor Bass and Miss Bass's daughter has been sick and she's having to travel back and forth to Anthony Anderson. Being through cancer and having to be away from home for a long period of time, I know that feeling, I know the debt of it and everything. So I just wanted to remind council that benefit will be September 25th. If y'all would mind not supporting, even though it's not my support.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
You want me to say something about investment briefly?
Yeah, go ahead.
Or not, I'm sure you know. I think I gave 20-something different places we could move to $250,000. I gave it to Mr. Thurman after I read the bond notes, all three of them, and carried it to him. And he was familiar with it, the first one.
Just so you know, we can't hear if you're talking.
I carried the bond notices with me to see Mr. Thurman at the bank, and I had read them, and Mayor and Ms. Bishop helped me get them, and I've studied them in great detail. And I carried them to him, and he understood, but he said, and I agreed with him, he said, if you move this to 15 or 20 different places, it's sort of going to be a logistic nightmare to keep up with it. Well, that's true, but we also need to make money, in which, if you really think about it, probably 35 basic points is not a lot. But when you're talking about a lot of money, every little bit adds up where it's $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. So he agreed with me that it's perfectly legal to move all of it, including the interest and sinking fund, which I was not in favor of to begin with, because that money is automatically taken out of checking account or moved back and put in the fund to pay the bond, March, September 30th. So it was reserve money. We could move it all. But it does two things. It hurts his bank, and it hurts us in the long haul because he supported this city for 35 years. And he was willing to say, yes, move it, but I prefer you not. And what I could do is I could up to 10, 15 lower basis points to help you. So I have the letter. Actually, I don't. I had it and I carried it back to him to tweak it a little. And he's got it, but when the time's ready, I'll bring it to give it to the council. And that'll be up to the council. But he's ready right now for whatever this city wants to do to help finance what we need on a long-term or short-term basis. That was something Ms. Bishop might talk about, some other things. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I agree, I don't like hurting anybody, like hurting bank stuff, but where we gonna get the best interest? Where we gonna make the most money?
Well, the thing
That's
is,
what I'm
that's what I'm looking for. The thing is, overall, looking at the picture, he's gonna give us a little bit more to pay for. If you read the letter, he's already paid us more than what the current rate is. But in the long haul, what's the total benefit that you get? It ain't just the interest, then you got the logistics to keep it up with 20-something counties spread all over the United States. So I'll bring you the letter and then y'all decide. But I don't think it's the best interest, not as far as it is with the benefit they can provide for us and to help us when we need it the most. They're willing to do it now and in the future.
I remember when I first got on the council, the city's money was here, there, and everywhere. City administrator, well, at the time she was city secretary, she didn't know where the money was somehow. And finally, they would send a statement or something and say, oh, we got money there. So it's best to know where your
Well,
money is.
and you did with one person.
Yeah.
And they got your interest, and the thing is also, like when I was working, the water money was very fine. We was born $1 million from it, the city had food banks, so that's not a good thing either.
Yeah.
You go to where the people give you best service, best overall overall
I'll get some
situation.
This.
I'll bring the letter and y'all can decide which
I remember Glenn Thurman said as the Moody Bank, he said, if we had problems getting money for a sewer, that he would finance it.
What's it?
You know, he has a banker's mind. He goes,
What's good for Moody
Yeah.
is good for Bruceville-Eddy.
yes,
And Bruceville vice versa. When we grow, he prospers.
yeah.
So he's the same thing here with the water here. We got a well. You need the money for a short-term basis. You gotta do something else. We'll get your money. Don't worry about it.
That's what he said.
So that's my statement. I appreciate y'all. This Bishop Crosby. I'll bring the letter when we have time to put it forward to you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir, thank you. Anybody else got anything? Well, we can discuss anything on the agenda. We have, 3 public hearings tonight. Those don't take very long, usually.
Okay, I have a question about number 9.
Okay.
And, I went through here and from 1 through 12 and, done some research with PML, personal attorneys and all this stuff. And number 9, it says council discuss, consider taking action on the mayor's authority. And since I'm running for mayor, I'm really more interested in this mayor stuff. So I'm trying to learn everything I can.
The mayor has lots of authority.
Yes, I found that out. It says, the action of the mayor authority to cancel any special call meeting called by the city council. Okay. From the attorney, it says the Open Meetings Act does not set forth any requirements for canceling a posted meeting, nor do any previous on the local government code. Some cities have ordinance that address calling and canceling council members, but I do not see any Bruceville-Eddy ordinance to cover this. The following provision for the local government code addresses some of the power of the mayor in regards to the council meeting 22.037, 22.038, and 22.042. Because the status and ordinance do not address this, there is no answer to whether the mayor can or cannot cancel a meeting.
I have something.
Just a
And I'm
minute.
not through yet. I
Just a
still got
minute. Sit down, please.
I still got this stuff. Okay, the section 22.070, it said, it said the mayor as presiding officer. The mayor shall preside at all meetings of the government body and municipal and except in elections, and may vote only if there is a tie. It says here that if the, see, I'm not going to get this, we get down to the right part of it. Okay, and it says meetings, the governing body of the municipality shall meet at the time and place determined by a resolution adopted by the governing body. The mayor may call a special meeting on the mayor's own motion and shall call a special meeting, in other words, the mayor does the calling of a special meeting, on the application of 3 aldermen. Each member of the governing body, the secretary, and the municipal attorney must be notified of the special meetings. The notice may be given personally or left at the person's usual place of residence. The governing body shall determine the rules of its proceedings and may confine the attendance of absent members and punish them for disorderly conduct. And alderman shall be fined $3 for each meeting that the alderman fails to attend unless the absence is caused by the alderman's illness or the illness of a family member. Then it goes over here to 042. It says power and duties of the mayor. The mayor is the chief executive officer of the municipality. The mayor shall at all times actively ensure that the law and ordinances of the municipality are properly carried out, the mayor shall perform the duties and exercise the power prescribed by the governing body of the municipality. They say that a lot. The mayor shall inspect the conduct of each subordinate municipal officer and shall cause any negativity, carelessness, or any violation of duty to proceed with punishment. The mayor shall give to the governing body any information and shall recommend to the governing body any measures that relates to improving the finance policies, health, security, fairness, comfort, ordinance, or good governing of the municipality. D, the mayor may administer oath of officers in the event of a riot, and then he has the right to get rid of all those people, and for his, to order special meetings. And then that was sent to us by our own city attorney.
Well, what the law says is that the mayor has the authority to cancel meetings with due cause, a good cause. And it doesn't say whether it's a meeting, a special call meeting, or a meeting that's called or arranged by the council, or if it's a regular council meeting, it doesn't specify, so therefore it doesn't apply. The mayor can cancel meetings.
Yes.
But what this is on here about, I suspect, is about, in a minute when I get to you can speak. I suspect why this is on here, to go back to the other meeting we just had, where Mr. Wiggins made a motion to set a call meeting at 10 o'clock in the morning on Monday, when everybody was at work and couldn't come to the meeting. And I did not cancel that meeting. I changed the time from 10 o'clock Monday morning to 6:30 Thursday evening. And the reason I did that, the main reason I did that, is because I had, I don't know how many phone calls, and complaining about it, that they wanted to come to the meeting, but they would be at work. And when I went down to the cafe for breakfast, everybody in there complained. And I went to the dollar store, several in there complained. Went to the post office and had one or two in there that complained about it. And they asked me to change it. So I did. I did not cancel it, I simply changed it.
That's what I had done when I called, and I got hold of TML about that. And TML said that as long as you had a reason, and I said, well, what it was, I think it was because all the citizens couldn't make it during the day, and they could make it at night, so they said, was the mayor recalled? And I said, yes, it was. And he had that right. And I said, well, can you give me that right? And she said, well, you need to contact your city attorney. So that's when I finally got it right. Okay, so.
Well, I think all of us up here are supposed to represent the people. And if people want to come to these meetings and call the mayor to change it, I think that should have done that.
Yes, sir.
I think I have every right to do that.
Research on it, yes, sir.
And sure enough, at the meeting, this place was full.
Yes, sir.
We had, what, 50 or 60 people?
Yeah, a lot.
Okay, so that kind of explains why that's on here. Now, Mr. Wiggins, what do you got to say?
Okay, I'm gonna pass this out. I did, I had this is from TML, and I had it at the last meeting, but I didn't have it with me. So therefore, that's why I canceled it, or tabled it. And this is, addresses, item 8 and 9, actually. And so, since we're on that number 9, about the mayor canceling the meeting, I'll read this. And this is from Mr. Will Trevino, and it says at our last regular called city council meeting, I made the motion to call this special call meeting, and it was voted on and passed to have it. Then on Saturday, the mayor canceled it and rescheduled it for August 19th, 6:30. He stated that he was getting some phone calls about having this meeting at 10 a.m. and therefore a lot of people would not be able to attend due to work. This was his reason to cancel the meeting. I understand this point. However, if a special called by the council. Does the mayor have authority to cancel this meeting? I understand that if it is a regular meeting or any special meeting that the mayor calls, then he can cancel the meeting. But if the council calls the meeting, I thought it may be different. I thought that maybe the one who made the motion to call a special call meeting could cancel, or the mayor could cancel it with approval of the one who made the motion. Not sure. And his answer is, generally, absent any local regulations or policies, a mayor does not have authority to cancel a called meeting. Now, so a meeting, a special called meeting called by the council, then the mayor has no authority to cancel.
That's his opinion, but the law.
Yes, well, he's an attorney too.
He didn't sign it or anything, or who sent this?
And,
It's with TML, right?
yeah, this is TML.
They should have, they sent me one with their name on it, they didn't send you one with their name on it?
It's got the name on it, man, up there at the top, says from,
A real Trevino.
yeah, will@tml.org. So this is Will's opinion. And, anyway, I talked to another municipal lawyer, and he said the same thing. So, there again, I mean, you have to specify when you ask them, not just a special call meeting, Ms. Owens, but a special call meeting called by the council. It's the difference between a special call meeting and a special call meeting called by the council. The mayor has authority to cancel a special call meeting that he calls,
But the
but not
law,
a special call meeting that's called by the council.
but the law does not specify that. Therefore, this is simply his opinion. It's not.
No, he's saying here, he
Well,
said,
my-
actually, we don't have any local regulations.
No,
or
we
policies."
don't. No, but what you're wanting to do is make.
No, I'm just trying to clarify, that's all I'm
No,
trying to
you're
do.
just trying to
No, I'm trying to clarify.
bypass the mayor. That's all you're trying to do.
I'm trying to get some clarification.
You went to all this trouble and you spent $3,000 of the city's money on that lawyer, city,
No, I
so-called
don't
city
stand for
lawyer.
that. Mr. Mayor, we're talking about this.
Okay,
We're talking about a special call meeting canceling.
yeah.
Now, all I'm trying to do is get some clarification. That's it.
Well, you go ahead and try and see what you can
And
do.
well, I did. Well, I did.
Go ahead.
And I explained it, I fully explained it, the reason why, you know.
So
you
what do you
wouldn't
want to
cancel
do?
it.
You want to have me arrested for doing that? Call the Texas Rangers.
I think you're out of order, Mr. Mayor.
Well, I mean, what are you up to? Why?
That's all I'm trying to get here.
Mayor, do you call orders?
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not. I don't want to-
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, you got the floor, go ahead. I apologize.
Minutes would like to speak.
Okay.
She's had her hand up forever.
But I also talked to TML, because I asked them the same questions, and I talked to one of their attorneys with a female. I talked to one of the female attorneys there, and because I even asked her, I said, I'll pay you to come sit in one of our meetings one of these days, just listen to see how it goes. And she says, well, we can't do that unless we decide to do it on our off time. And I said, well, what about a special call meeting? She said, well, who called the meeting? And I said, it was called by council. And she said, if there is probable cause, then they can. But, you know, that's something you need to talk to your city attorney. That's what she said, that you could, but it was something I had to talk to the city attorney. So she sent me over there, and they sent me to email. I just kept going back and forth with different attorneys. I'm sorry.
Well, that's how come I like to get it in writing and fully explain it. I fully explain why, because it was at 10 a.m. and people, couldn't be there. So, I mean, I fully explained it.
Yeah, it doesn't, we don't have
So
a.
that's all I'm trying to do is get some,
We've never adopted that policy.
no, we don't have a policy.
Yes, ma'am.
That's when they got the court at.
And I have run into this before. But with our town, the council chose to have an ordinance, and it explained who could cancel regular and special call. if a special meeting was called by the council, the rightful, respectful thing to have done would been for an email to go out either by the mayor or by the administrator on direction of the mayor, asking each council if there was any objection. And each council member would have answered back. Had that overruled, then that meeting would have been held. It's not did someone do something wrong or right, but you're saying you're coming in as a mayor. That is something the council probably needs to consider, is make a small ordinance on the procedures of a regular meeting, canceling, recalling, special, and special called by the council.
Right.
Because the council was not given the full respect to whether they were okay with Monday, which they probably all would have been, or what day of the week would have been best for them. So, that's what I have to say about it.
Yeah, because on this one turn, it says it doesn't, it said, for the address, there is no clear answer who may cancel a meeting, special or otherwise.
But called by the council, you have to give the council recognition because they called.
But there again, there's someone's, it has to be, it's not just special, it has to be special, you need to specify, it's a special call meeting by the council. Can they cancel that? That's all I'm trying to do is get some clarity, and that way we know for sure, that's the only intent here. Is,
I just want to ask, when we rescheduled this, was it on the same day we was gonna have it before or a different day?
Different.
Okay. I couldn't remember which one it was.
And the council did call.
Sonny's there.
And
What I would like to do is piggyback on Mavis, and I think what Mavis said makes a lot of sense. I think the only way you're gonna have clarity, Mr. Wiggins, is for an ordinance to be written that specifically says these meetings can be canceled by. But in saying that, it's also monumental that you consider the citizens whenever you're thinking about something like that, because you're serving the citizens. And if the citizens are bombarding you with requests, you know, is that something you're gonna put in the ordinance, you know, if citizens request and it's documented proof that those citizens are requesting, you know, y'all are gonna have to, it's something y'all need to consider maybe doing a ordinance on to get the clarity you're looking for.
Yes.
Okay, I know I'm probably very confused on a lot of stuff. I'm sure I am. I'm not the smartest kid on the block. Never have been, never will be. But here lately, it seems like we keep taking away stuff from the city, and we keep taking away things that the mayor's duties and the city's duties, and we keep taking that authority away from certain people. And I think we should give all the authority back to the mayor and to the city people so they can take care of it instead of the council. Y'all should bring it to us for us to decide if that is wrong or right. Not that, hey, let's take his authority, let's strip his rank, let's strip her rank, let's strip their rank out there as citizens. I don't think we should do that as a whole.
Amen.
okay.
We're not 5,000 people, Linda, so we cannot be city manager or home ruled. So when we're not home ruled, we fall under type A government law.
Right.
Okay, so that means that everything that's decided for our city is decided by the council. He's the chief executive and the budget officer, and he can call, say, when COVID hit or when the freeze hit, he can call those emergency meetings, but he cannot choose to make the rules, change the rules, so forth, as a mayor, and Sonia can't as an administrator. So it falls on the council, and it shouldn't go back to the mayor of the city. That was actually wrong.
Yeah, I understand. That wasn't what I was asking or what I was saying at all. That has nothing to do with what I was saying.
Well, you were saying give it back to the city. It never was the city's.
No. Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Things have been
Yeah.
taken away as the mayor's response. Okay, let's just say the mayor. We'll just go sit up and then I'll start with the city's one. Say the mayor's position. There's been several things taken that the mayor is supposed to be doing according to this, that he can do, that his duties and stuff are, because I've been having TNL send me all kinds of stuff, and I was like, to learn, so I'm switching from councilman to mayor, if I did.
Right, you're trying to bring
And I'm
up.
trying to read up on it, but I can think of, well, no, we don't do that here now, oh, that was taken away. Well, why can't we just, I mean, if we're not gonna let the mayor do what they say the mayor is supposed to be doing, why have a mayor?
Right, and we can't take, and that's why I can send and post it, the mayor's duties and authorities.
Yes, and I got those, I printed those out.
People saw that his authority rules, okay?
Yes.
Now, he can't make certain decisions, that's where he has the board, okay? But he's gonna call the board to order, he's going to make decisions he's gonna call each one, and we did a special meeting on Thursday night. And y'all are either gonna say, can we make it on Friday or Tuesday? But he's gonna say, I have a reason to call this meeting, blah, 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 and he has the authority to do that.
Oh, okay, I just wanted, I was just making sure,
Yeah.
that was what I
That's
saw.
his authority.
Yes.
And he can delegate certain things to the administrator.
Yes.
But it has to be within the law guidelines.
Yeah, I printed out all those things that you sent me, I appreciate it.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I mean, I guess I had my head in the sand. What have we taken away from anybody?
Well, there's several things.
Well, I'd sure like to hear what they are, because I've been on the council now
Well, for one thing, I can think of, since the city was incorporated in 1974, the mayor always was responsible for the agenda. If that's been changed, the mayor has no control over it.
who changed it? Who
Ordinance.
We changed it.
No, I didn't change it.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't. That's an ordinance. You're wrong. It's an ordinance that,
Well, whatever, I'm saying the prior.
No, I didn't change it. I didn't put the ordinance in. The ordinance has been.
I didn't say the ordinance, I said the prior.
You said I changed it. I didn't
You did.
change it. No, I didn't. The
Yeah,
ordinance
it's
is
on
there.
the ordinance.
Okay,
The ordinance allows us
Okay.
to put something on the agenda.
sure, okay, go ahead.
But anyway, if you allow me, I'll talk,
Go ahead
we'll
and
talk
talk.
about that number 9.
All right.
If you want to. So number 9 is about the council discuss, consider possible state action on mayor's authority county. No, I'm sorry, that's number 8.
We've already beat that.
Yeah, take action on council members confer with the city attorney about city matters. Had this on there, and there again, I had asked this TML attorney about it, and I had it last time, but I didn't have this with me. Got it.
Now,
So
which one are you talking
Number
about?
8.
Number 8.
Number 8.
Eight?
Yes, sir. So let me read what I asked him. It said, does the councilman have the right to call, text, and/or email our city attorney? The mayor told me I had no right to call our attorney.
That's not what I told you.
Well, listen, let me finish. No, that's what you told me. And I had no right to call our attorney, and if he charged us, I would have to pay for it. I have found nothing in any of our ordinances or anything else that would prevent me from contacting our attorney for legal matters pertaining to our city. I have in the past, and it wasn't an issue. The reason I believe that the mayor said this is when he called me to tell me about him canceling a special call meeting, he left me a message about it, and when he was going to reschedule it for. So before I returned the mayor's phone call, I called our attorney and just asked him if he would be able to attend the meeting on that date, which he was going to be there at the 10 a.m. meeting on Monday. He checked his schedule and told me that he could be there. I then called the mayor and informed him that I had spoken with the attorney and that he said he could be there on August 19th. This is when the mayor told me that I had no right to call an attorney, and that if he charged the city for that, I would have to be the one to pay for it. The mayor stated that he didn't think it was needed the attorney at the meeting, and that if we went into executive session to speak about the city administrator, we would not need our attorney present. I asked the mayor if he was going to ask our attorney to be at the meeting. He said no, he wasn't going to ask him. I said, please let me know your thoughts. attorney says. This really depends on whether the city council has adopted a policy. The city attorney represents the city, his or her client, and the mayor and the city council are the city's elected officers. However, some cities do adopt policies that limit the use of an attorney by city council members as the legal costs can exceed what was budgeted. I would discuss with the city attorney and or place the item on the next agenda for council discussion and action. They may agree with the mayor or you. Additionally, the agenda lists 551.071 and 551.074. The government code is possible exceptions to an open session. Please keep in mind that the city attorney must be present or available by telephone if the council will proceed under 551.071. If the council proceeds under 551.074, the city administrator has the right to request that the discussion regarding his or her position remain in open session. They do not have a right, however, to request that the council take the discussion into executive session. So what he's saying here is that you can, because we don't have no policy. So I can, or any other council member can.
Sure you
And
can.
you don't want to, and the reason for this, folks, is you don't want to limit your council members to, the council members' feet are held to the fire here. We're the elected officials for the city. And if we want to ask our attorney a question that has to do with city matters, then we should be able to reach out to them. Now, keep in mind, do I think that, you should just be able to call them all the time? No, I'm talking about within reason. I think that's good checks and balances for our city here. You can't just say, okay, we're just going to leave that up to the mayor and the city administrator only. Well, who does, if something happens out there, who do the citizens hold accountable? City council, that's who they hold accountable. So if they're gonna hold us accountable, I want to be able to say, okay, let me call that attorney, let me ask them a question, because I can say, Ms. Bishop or Mr. Mayor, this is a question I want you to ask. Well, as everybody knows, when they answer that question, a lot of times, okay, in other words, you're going to ask another question, a follow-up question. Well, what are we going to do? Go back and forth? The mayor says, well, this is what he said. Then I'll say, well, wait a minute, well, what about this? Well, now he's got to go back to him. That eliminates all of that. So it's not a big deal. We're held accountable here, and I think that's okay. Just like the other issue, all we're trying to do is get some clarity on that. That's all I'm trying to do anyway. Is get some clarity, and that way we know and the public knows. That's all I'm trying to do. Thank you.
Thank you. In the first place, I did not tell you that you couldn't call the attorney. I've never told you that. But when we hired the attorney, first night he came, and he was introduced as a new city attorney because he had to fire the old one, doing the same thing this one did. He said, I do not want the city to hire me. I do not want to be on a retainer. I will be your city attorney as an on-call, as-needed attorney. And I work directly, since you don't have a city manager, I work directly through the city administrator and sometimes the mayor. I work for the council. He said, I will not work for individual council members. He said that. Should be on the record.
Which attorney was it?
Neil Kirkland himself. The man with the long hair.
When I first started, Mr. Purple wasn't here. We had their law firm but Kayla was coming at that time, and then once Kayla left the firm, then Mr. Purple started coming in. I don't know who we've had. We've always had a name now.
The council, I didn't finish talking for you.
Okay.
The council hired Mr. Purple on those terms. And the ones responsible, I hate to say, for picking him out is Miss Bishop and Mayor Bass. We had several applicants for that job. And I knew that firm that he is working with. He's just a little low lawyer working for that firm, really, is all he is. Naaman House, Smith, and Lee. Back in the 70s, I knew Mr. Howe. Knew him well. He was a nice man, good man, and I've used him several times for our insurance company. And I said, well, that is a well-respected law firm. So I would choose him for that. Plus, in his resume, he is supposed to be a specialist in municipal law. And he certainly is not. I found that out since. But that's the reason we picked him out. Plus, he was a little bit cheaper than the others. He was only $190 an hour.
There was, whenever y'all hired him, there was several that was being considered, and it came down to 2, and he was one, I don't remember who the second one was, and he was 185, and the other guy was like 2 something, but the council at the time voted in Neil Purple.
We recommended him.
Yeah,
He was the only
and
one
they
that
had asked
showed
our
up.
recommendation, and said that he would be the one, based off of
But
research.
since then, every question I've ever asked him, he did not have an answer. He'll get his phone out, look up the law, and he'll read the law to you. But you know, you can read, I can read the law without him reading it to me. But that's the reason. And another thing, you calling and talking to him, like you said, you more or less engaged him on behalf of the city at the cost of probably at least $3,000.
No.
We haven't received his bill yet, but when we do, that's $3,000.
Where did you come up with that figure? I mean, if you hadn't got a bill, how do you know?
I can count the hours.
Okay.
I'm talking. I can count the hours that he spent on that.
Okay.
And all of the repair work or discovery, I think they call it. And you can count up, he worked 10, 15, 20 hours at least on that.
On what?
On what y'all cooked up.
What's
Behind
that?
the backs of everybody else.
What's that?
Firing Sonia Bishop.
We didn't have all that. We had lots of.
Well, that's what it meant.
No.
Whatever.
No, this is not,
Anyhow.
this is not on the agenda, we cannot discuss this. You need to
Anyhow.
move on, please, sir.
Okay. Okay. Anyhow, that's what brought all this up, and I don't like the idea of a single council member being able to spend that much money of the city's money on attorneys. And since you've been here talking about attorneys, our attorney expense has gone sky high for the last 2 years. And it's thousands of dollars, and that's ridiculous, especially since you don't know nothing to start with. If I had the authority as a mayor, I would fire that man. I would have already fired him. Hopefully.
Well, did you hire?
No, I didn't. I said if I had the authority. And I quit butting in when I'm talking. If I had the authority, I would fire him on the spot. But I don't have that authority. And on the last agenda, I asked for the council to see new attorney. And I don't guess y'all even thought about it since it. Don't use it, I don't guess. Anyhow, that's my opinion as a lawyer. Sorry. Enough of that. Okay, Mr. Powell.
On that, Mr. Mayor, I think we not talking about attorneys. You and I did.
Yes.
We got good and bad.
Yes.
That's just fact. There, we're both ways. sometimes the cheapest is not the best. Sometimes you get your money worth, sometimes you don't, but that's all I want to say on that. And before I'm trying to move on, we'll be here all night with that. I'm pretty sick tonight, and I don't feel like sitting here arguing about something that's, can't do nothing about. Facts is facts, and, apparently until you get some kind of legal counsel that can definitively, you spell it out, in my opinion, it won't make no difference, so I'm not saying that, I'm ready to move on, sir.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't wanna argue either, Councilman, but one thing the council needs to consider, the council, just like the trash man or anything else they hire, if they hire or they put an attorney on retainer, the council makes the decision. Y'all need to start thinking of more, even if there are many ordinances and resolutions, you need to get it in writing. And then if you don't want the council, one individual council calling, then you put it in that ordinance that the council has to go to the administrator. She needs to be able to do her job and do it properly. And so you need to set the rules.
Can I answer that?
Yes, sir.
I'm not stupid.
I know you're not.
I
I
think
did
these
not
other
say you
people
were.
already, we know what you're talking about. But sitting here just beating this horse to death ain't accomplished nothing. And James Thompson's not gonna do it. I'm ready to attend to people's business, but I'm not gonna sit here and argue. It's not gonna happen. I don't feel like it. I'm sick. My hernia's about to fall out of my brakes.
Well, and another
This is
thing,
baloney.
y'all carry these workshops out so long it could be discussed in the council.
Well, you participated in that.
It's, our citizen, it's our tax dollars paying that attorney. It's not the mayors, it's not the administrators, it's not the cities, it's not the councils, it's the people's tax dollar. And we elected y'all to do us a good job.
Okay.
Okay, I think this thing.
Okay, is this thing out again? The red light's on.
How come Jake, it shouldn't be?
That horse has been on, so that's good.
No, we're not gonna call the workshop to end.
Give them your,
You take it now. I can talk loud,
Yeah, you can, I heard that.
but I got a little unhappy right now, so you.
Okay. Okay, let's end this up here in a few minutes. Is anything else important? Anybody?
I got one quick thing.
All right, go ahead.
The water committee, I thought we met on the 30th, we don't make it just first, close enough. Once again, the water committee unanimously, including Mr. Romans, participates on the phone. Believe we need to move forward with this water line on the interstate, on 451, where the council voted for the water board to make a water committee, try to make an agreement with Mr. Stephanie, which we'll do that later on. Commitment for that, plus Ms. Bishop asked a real good question, that water committee meeting. Will this help solve some of the problems down the interstate where the bidders are coming in? You asked me that.
That was the meeting before the last one.
Well, it didn't have to say this one, I just said in the water committee.
I thought you said that the September 1st meeting, because that was not a discussion, September 1st.
I don't think I said specifically what you said at any one meeting, I'm just saying, we
Okay.
all agree with that now.
Okay.
Committee, it asked to have the chance to put capital expenditure in the budget. And I was told that this was operating budget, well, let me tell you. See, construction progress at City Hall is capital expenditure. Police car equipment and the cop car is capital expenditure. The lift station property and the lift station stuff is capital expenditure. So if you don't put it in the budget, you can't do it. You put it in there, and if you don't use it, you don't have to. But I think we need to move forward because to secure water for the future of the city is huge. It's probably the most important thing we can do. Well, the rest of it's not going to work if you don't have the water and the money to do it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, is this water line that you're talking about putting the money in there for, is that the one for Falls County?
Yes, it gets us in compliance with the government of Falls County.
Yeah. All right, my question is, I'm all for anybody having water. Trust me.
This is not on the agenda, we cannot discuss.
Oh, we can't discuss this.
It's on the budget, the water budget, that's all I'm
But
talking.
discussing that specific line and that specific upgrade.
Well,
is
because
on-
that's the capital expenditure goes in the budget. I can do it under that item.
But she can't ask question about
I didn't
specific
say that
lines.
about her.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr.
Can
Mayor.
I say that I'm gonna help the citizens of Bruceville-Eddy or help Falls County?
Yeah.
Can I say that?
That's gonna help them all. The water get from going from these wells, and Blue Line's gonna stay over here.
Yeah, because we
That
got
keeps us
20,
in compliance.
we got 20 meters right now for the past 6 years that they're trying to get it water.
This will, this will help with that problem as well.
It'll help them that one up this way.
It'll help everywhere, except you, we have to tack,
Help.
we can't talk about that.
Yeah, he half better right now.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, anything else?
Let's have a break.
Let's have a vote.
Okay, it's,
6:30 exactly.
okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to everybody here tonight, and for those joining on the teleconference phone. If you want to join on the telephone, you can dial 1-646-749-3335, access code 273-230-301. And these meetings are also available on YouTube. Please remember to mute your phones and computers to avoid any interference during the meeting. Before we start the meeting, I'd like everyone to rise for an invocation by Linda Owens, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. It has been a good day. Without you, we wouldn't have anything at all. And we all know this. We know that we can come to you with anything that we have. And Lord God, there's so many people out there that are sick and need your hands on them right now to help them through it, whether it's healing them or just helping their families get through it. Lord God, I just pray that you'll continue to keep watching over our city and our citizens and take care of our fire department, our police department, our city workers. And thank you, Lord God, for the council, that we may all decide that what we can do and benefit the citizens of Bruceville-Eddy. I thank you, Lord God, for everything that you do. And I ask for all these things in the precious name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor this flag. I pledge allegiance to the state of Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
May I say something? Since we have the new gun law and stuff, we have got safety. We're trying to be real safe now because, you know, all of us have a tendency to be hot-heads, you know, and you never know what's going to happen. You let somebody walk in with guns and stuff. So as the council is up here, the only thing we have is under this desk, you know. So, but just for precautions and stuff. The last meeting we had, after the meeting was over, I said we all need to adjourn and get go. It's over. We all need to leave the building. And nobody was leaving, so I go over and I turn the lights out and go, the meeting's over. I apologize for turning the lights out. Y'all could have had, I mean, of course, the emergency lights come on. We have where we can see, but it was unsafe. So I want to apologize for that part. Now I also want to read something here. It says, for the safety of our citizens, councilmen, and staff, upon adjourning of the city council meeting, citizens, visitors are asked to exit the building through the front entrance to the city hall immediately. Any bags, backpacks, purses, etc. that are being brought into the council meeting room are subject to security screening. Anyone, citizens or visitors attending a city council meeting will be subject to a metal detector screening before entering the council meeting room, if they see fit. So after the meeting is adjourned, if y'all would please, y'all want to visit stuff, that is perfectly fine. We don't have anything against y'all meeting, because we leave and we go out the back and leave. But y'all need to go ahead and leave the building and then visit outside. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Owens.
Thank you, Chief. He come up with that second thing for all of us.
Okay, tonight, we're having 3 public hearings. Normally, we would have already had these, but there was a mix-up with the newspaper, and they didn't get it published in time, so it had to be postponed to tonight. The first public hearing, it's now 6:34, and this, public hearing is now in order. The public hearing is to consider remarks on proposed general fund budget for the upcoming fiscal year. This is just the general fund for the city. It's the council comes up with a proposed fund for the general fund budget for the fiscal year, which is October the 1st, I believe, of this year through September 30th of next year, the fiscal year. And they've come up with a proposed budget, which has been posted, I think, but it has to be officially approved after a public hearing. So if anyone here has any objections to what they propose, now is the time to speak up. Does anybody have anything to say about the proposed budget?
Can you speak up a little bit?
Yes, I can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me? Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm sorry. I don't talk too loud. I just don't have much to say. Okay. So, if there's nobody has anything to say about the proposed budget, then this public hearing is now closed at 6:35. Now, the next public hearing is council to consider remarks on the proposed water fund budget. The water fund is completely separate from the general fund. So, does anybody have anything to say about the proposed water fund for the upcoming fiscal year? Anybody has anything to say?
Are there any copies of the proposed budgets? Because it's hard to ask questions if we don't know what's been proposed.
It should be posted outside. Isn't it?
They're online.
Online, they're online. But if you wanted a hard copy, I'm sure they could provide you with one. No more questions? Okay, it is 6:38, and this public hearing is now closed. The next public hearing, council to consider remarks on the proposed tax rate for tax ordinance adopting the tax rate of 50 cents per $100 valuation. And that's what it is now and has been for several years, and it's not going to be changed. The council has proposed to keep the same tax rate. But this will effectively create a 4.19% increase in the tax, the actual tax. The reason of the increase is because the McLennan County what do you call this?
Appraisal, the evaluation.
Yeah, yeah. The McLennan County, what do they call this? I can't remember. The ones that come around look at your property, say your property's worth $100.
Well, they appraise it.
Appraisal, okay. McLennan County Appraisal District. has raised the value of the property within the city limits by 4.19%. That's what it amounts to. And it says here that it's a 4.19% increase in the tax rate, but it should just be tax. The rate shouldn't be there. The rate is 50 cents per hundred. Any discussion on that? Okay. It is now 6:38. This public hearing is now closed. Is that clear to everybody? The taxes, the city did not go up on the taxes, but we will be getting a little bit more money because of the McLennan County appraisal district raised the valuation. Item number 5, citizens presentation. The city council welcomes public comments at this point on items that are not specifically listed on the agenda. Speakers must sign up before the meeting begins. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes each. The council cannot respond to matters not listed on the agenda until a future meeting. We have 2 people that have signed up to speak tonight. The first one is Sonda Prater, 190 Souls Circle.
Give it this.
It's working. Alright. So I'm actually gonna read this because I'll lose track. I believe in my right to question my elected officials when I feel they are being less than noble. I expect transparency and for them to represent not only myself but my community with honesty and to be fair without personal agendas. Before speaking last time, I questioned and talked to people directly involved. I rewatched council meetings, I read emails. I stand by my conclusion. And it's my opinion that there is a dislike from council members towards Ms. Bishop and our mayor. I feel that those council members should not be involved in any reprimand of Ms. Bishop. I do not have confidence that they can remain unbiased and fair. I believe it should be Ms. Owens and maybe Mr. Fowler that does the reprimands. I want to also discuss the emails. I went back over the ones in question, and what I thought to be one email thread was actually 2. Mr. Wiggins was correct. He did not respond to the first email with the derogatory remarks from the previous council member. For that, I apologize. I apologize to y'all, and I humbly ask for forgiveness for that.
Thank you. Next person signed up is Mr. Darren Weaver.
Evening, everybody. Evening. Take my mask off. Everybody's getting vaccinated.
And your name again, sir?
Darren Weaver. I just wanted to ask a couple of questions and ask the city council. By the way, thank you all for serving. Thank you, folks, for serving in the city council and law enforcement as well. So for those of you who don't know, Peggy and I are the primary owners of Eagles Landing Restaurant and Grill. I appreciate all of you that go there frequently and support us and the local community and the employees. In 2016, when I came before the city council, Mayor Bass was there. I don't recall if everybody else was there. We entered into an agreement with the city that had several stipulations and incentives, but we also requested a couple of things that were not in the contract. So I know that's been brought up before. So what I'm specifically referring to, going all the way back to 2016, is our request for street lights, crosswalks, and signage on Market Street. Now, the reason for that is it's not as much business related and it's not specific to our business. There's 3 businesses there: the winery, us, and our daily bread. Okay. As we get into the fall, it's going to get darker and darker, sooner and sooner.
And if you've ever been down Market Street at dark, it's a muddy, dark death trap. I'm just gonna say it. Sooner or later, some kid is gonna get killed on that street. Okay? So all I asked back in 2016, the signs are up. I don't recall if the city put them up or if Tech Stop put them up. So stop signs up, that's good. We need crosswalk, right? And we need street lights going down Market Street to protect the citizens, protect our patrons, and to protect our employees as they leave the building at night. I think that applies to the winery employees and patrons. I think that applies to our Daily Bread employees and patrons as well. So I know that the council has other pressing things that are going on, but I think that after several years, it's worthy of being considered. And has there been any traction or motion on that request? Specifically the streetlights. No. You're all giving me that look. No. So, well, let me just. I'm open to discuss that. I don't think that any of the businesses, I think that's a municipal function, not a business function. And I request that at least a couple of street lights be put up on Market Street. I understand my second part of my question here tonight is about sewer, but I understand that we have things in place in which the roads will be tore up, sewer lines will be put in. Correct me if I'm not correct, but I don't think street lights are part of that. Correct? Sonia? No.
I remember the street lights specifically, and we thought of decorative lights, more or less. And I also remember the street was supposed to be, we even got bids on doing it.
Right.
But we thought the sewer was fixing to come in and we were going to wait on it. And we were still waiting.
We're 4 years, we're 5 years.
Yeah.
5 years. Right. And so,
but I remember the street lights and the cross, I remember all of that. And it needs to be addressed.
so my request is that the city put in at least 2 street lights and crosswalks. I myself put in handicap, Tech Stop put the handicap sign across the street, it makes no sense, right? I myself made a handicap spot in front of the restaurant. That would be nice too, but I don't think I'm asking for the world for 2 street lights on Market Street. I can be patient and wait for sewer to be done, to ask about street improvements. In general, I think 3rd and Market is the only developable part of town. It is what's left of the town, right? And so it needs to be a safe place for the community and patients and people getting on and off the freeway. And honestly, especially my employees, right? They come out of there, they're not carrying cash, just so everybody knows. Nobody leaves that building with cash. But I have a lot of young people, some of them related to those of you in this room. And they're getting out of there late at night, it's dark as heck. I put a light up there, it fatigues, it goes dim. You know, you see us up there spending the money on the mural, and we'll try to get that lit. But that whole street needs to be lit. So a couple of street lights, that's all I'm asking for. So would you please consider it?
That needs to be put on the agenda. I'm not responding.
I didn't say we
I'm just kind of commenting.
I don't know what that would cost, but I appreciate it. Second thing I'd like to ask about is sewer timeframe. So we are, as a restaurant, 1 septic catastrophe away. We already have one, and we're having to pump 2, 3, 4 times a year. Right? We're 1 catastrophe away from going out of business. So, can I have a timeline on groundbreaking?
Back at the last meeting we had, the bondsman said it would be a year before they had all that ready. And then it would take a year to construct it, so we're talking 2 years. We've been talking 2 years right now, for what, 4 or 5 years?
30 years.
Yeah, I know.
Let's be honest, we've been
years.
talking about sewer for 30 years.
It's been 10 years for me, yeah, I know.
All right, so 2 years is what we're looking at before.
That's where we are now.
Okay, well, I guess my statement as a local business owner is, let's try to accelerate that, please. So we don't have to go out of business. Amen. Thank you, City Council. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you. Next on the agenda is a police report from Chief Dorsey.
Good evening, everybody.
exciting. It's good to see almost a full house. But welcome to all our citizens that are here. Thank you all for being here. I do have a couple reports to present tonight. One being our monthly police department report for the month of August. In the month of August, we had 124 calls for service. We generated 25 reports. We worked 14 crashes. Total citations and warnings for the month is 138, and that breaks down to 53 citations and 85 warnings for the month. As far as our city ordinance enforcement report, we had 22 open cases, and then we had 13 that have resulted in citations that are being resolved. And then on to the really good news. As most of y'all know, we do have an asset forfeiture account that the police department can use to buy equipment and vehicles and anything pretty much to better our department that doesn't come out of, taxpayer dollars or out of our regular budget. It's separate from that. And it's primarily funded from seizures, like asset, that's why it's called asset forfeiture, because it's from seizures that we've been involved in. But I don't know a whole lot about the origin of this one. I just know that we were a part of a forfeiture back in 2012 or 2013. It was a multi-agency forfeiture. I know Lorena was involved. I'm not sure who else. But it resulted in a seizure that went to the federal level. And I remember last year I was contacted by an IRS task force, and I worked with them on getting some things that were out of compliance into compliance and working with them. And then I received quarterly updates on that account that we could potentially be receiving. And I am pleased to say that our patience has paid off and all of our hard work, because back on August the 6th of this year, we received a deposit of $115,332.56 into that asset forfeiture account. So as of today, that account holds $128,680.05.
Wow.
So I'm very pleased by that. It's definitely a blessing for our department, because we can utilize that fund to, I think, the next item on our wish list, or the next thing that should happen, is the purchase of at least one, maybe two more vehicles. And what I see with this fund now is we can go out and we can purchase the vehicles that we want, and we can pay cash for them. And we won't have to carry over a debt. We can write a check. We're not carrying over a debt. We're not paying a car note for 5 or 6 years. We're not paying interest, and we're not. The main thing is just being debt free. So I'm very, very happy with that. Yes, sir.
Specifically four-wheel drive vehicle.
Right.
But we have none.
Right. We don't have any four-wheel drive vehicles, and due to the snowstorm, it definitely proved to be difficult for us, because we got stuck more than we got places. So we're definitely looking at either four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive vehicles. But right now, there's a vehicle crisis, and no one has a chip. So we may have to wait a little while, but whenever the time is right, then I do foresee us getting some new vehicles, and then we'll also be able to sell at least one or two of the higher mileage vehicles we have now, and then that money can just go back into our budget and use that for other equipment or whatever comes up. And then I also wanted to talk about earlier, we haven't had a lot, and I think that's due to our proactivity and the routine checks and daily checks that we conduct. As far as business checks go, all of our businesses are on a checklist that we check every day periodically, and sometimes more than once a day. but every time we check it, it's recorded in our system. But we had one incident earlier this year, and then another incident a couple weeks ago with some of our local businesses. And I was, in working with the business owners, I was trying to come up with a way to prevent any more burglaries or any more instances from happening in the future. And after speaking with our business owners, we decided to set up cameras, and in both these businesses they have Wi-Fi, so we're able to set up cameras that connect to Wi-Fi, and in turn we can access them from an app. So in 2 of our businesses here in town, we have those cameras connected, and they're on an app that are linked not only to my phone, but to all our officers' phones. So when they're set on motion, and anytime they go off, we get an immediate alert. And we've had a few false alarms, but that just shows that our systems are working. And then everything, all the video that it captures is recorded and stored on the cloud. So we can go back and review it or download it or whatever we need to do. So that's my answer to preventing future break-ins, is not only having cameras, but having them tied to our phones directly. So as soon as something happens, we see it in real time, and we get an instant notification, and we can respond to that. Either myself, even if I'm at home, I'll get out of bed and I'll go if I see something. But as well as my officers, they're real good about, they can relate to some of the false alarms we've gotten. They got there within a couple minutes, and we made sure everything was okay. But I just want to extend that out to, anybody, any of our business owners. If y'all, I know y'all have cameras, as you were saying, but if we could find a way to tie them into our system, that would give us an instant notification, and in turn we could catch somebody in the act. Because not every burglary we can solve. We've solved, the one that happened earlier this year, we identified the suspect and we closed the case. But not every burglary is going to be that easy, but I do want it, that's just my solution to any burglaries or anything like that. And then as far as residences, if people want us to have access to their cameras, if y'all are out of town or whatever, we can work something out. Or I have 9 game cameras that I purchased for the police department. We use those on a regular basis, and they work well. And we've actually caught people that are doing things they shouldn't be doing. So I'm just trying to come up with new ways to make our community and our business owners and our citizens safer. So I think that's about all I have for the. Oh, one more thing. I'm sorry. I emailed all the council and the mayor, and then I also gave y'all a paper copy tonight. But I do have an evaluation. I'm calling it an annual evaluation, and I feel like now that it's posted in the budget year, now would be an appropriate time to do an evaluation on myself. So I present to each of y'all that evaluation and just ask for each of y'all to please fill it out, and then we can coordinate an appropriate time to go over that in a public setting or in a private setting, whatever is appropriate, and we can discuss the evaluation. And then I also have officer evaluations I'm going to be conducting, and then I'll be sharing that with y'all as well.
Thank you.
One question for you, Chief. Are you going to be involved in item 6, the discussion on the new gun law? Are you
Yes,
going to? Okay, great.
Yes, sir. There is an item on the agenda tonight. Brent McCain is on the agenda to.
It's number 6, item number 6. You want to go ahead and do that?
Sure. He asked for me to speak. We've talked by email and by phone about the new House Bill 1927 that talks about constitutional carry, and then also makes some changes to license holders in the state of Texas. And that bill's 32 pages long, and to say it's confusing is an understatement. But I've read it forwards and backwards, left and right, and tried to make sense of it for myself.
You finally figured it out, I think.
I finally, when a new bill or a new law comes out, especially one that's 32 pages long, it takes a little while to wrap your head around everything. So I've read it and I've come up with a summary, what I would call the highlights that I think is the most important part that I took away from it. But in regards to House Bill 1927 that became law on September 1st, the bill was designed to govern the carrying of a firearm by a person who is 21 years of age or older and not otherwise prohibited by state or federal law from possessing the firearm, and to other provisions related to the carrying, possession, transporting, or storing of a firearm or other weapon. And then there's some provisions in there that persons who are currently prohibited from possessing firearms under state and federal law will not gain the right to possess or carry a firearm under this legislation, meaning House Bill 1927. And persons who are currently prohibited from possessing a firearm include persons convicted of a felony as described by the provisions of Texas Penal Code, and then persons convicted of certain assault offenses that are punishable by a Class A misdemeanor involving a member of the person's family or household, so meaning family violence. And then certain persons who are subject of a protective order under Section 4604 Penal Code. I don't want to bore you all with all the penal code sections, but those are still, prohibitions for people that aren't licensed to carry. If they fall under those categories, they still cannot possess a firearm. And then under this new bill, it talks about Article 1403 of Code of Criminal Procedure. They amended that section and give the peace officer authority. It says a peace officer who is acting in the lawful discharge of the officer's official duties may disarm a person at any time the officer reasonably believes it is necessary for the protection of the person, officer, or another individual. The peace officer shall return the handgun to the person before discharging the person from the scene if the officer determines that the person is not a threat to the officer, person, or another individual, and if the person has not committed a violation that results in the arrest of that person. And then in Section 18 of the new bill, it talks about Section 3006 and 3007, which are the prohibitions for license holders for open carry and concealed carry, because you can, private businesses and stuff have those signs posted, prohibiting a license holder from entering those establishments or places. But they amended that section and said that it is now an exception to the application of this section, referring to 3006 and 3007, that the property on which the license holder carries a handgun is owned or leased by a governmental entity and is not a premise or other place on which the license holder is prohibited from carrying the handgun. But to be honest, the most confusing part of this new bill was in Section 4603 and 46035, they repealed all of 46035 and they moved prohibitions around for license holders, and they carried some over and then they repealed the rest of them. So, but I finally saw in the bill towards the end in Section 23, it still prohibits a person that's not a license holder under constitutional carry, that they still are committing an offense if they intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly possess or go with a firearm, location restricted nightclub or prohibited weapon. And then in Section 14, in the room or rooms where a meeting of a governmental entity is held, if the meeting is an open meeting, and if the entity provides notice as required by this chapter. So that simply says that if you're not a license holder and you're legally able to carry a firearm it's still, they didn't change that prohibition for an unlicensed holder, that you still cannot enter the rooms or rooms where an open meeting is. So this setting, if you're not a licensed holder. However, in section 25 of this new bill, they added that if you are a license holder, that section 14 where it talks about in the room or rooms where a meeting of governmental entity is held, that no longer applies to a license holder. But they do give the stipulation that you are allowed to carry a handgun as long as the handgun is concealed or in a holster. But they did not go on to say, they just simply said in a holster. So my translation of that means it can be open, it can be openly carried or concealed in a holster. So as long as it's in a holster, or if you so desire to carry it concealed, then you can come into an open meeting.
So basically what all this says is, if you don't have a license carry, you cannot bring a gun in this room during a meeting.
Right.
But if you have a license, you can bring it provided you either have it concealed or in a holster.
Right.
And they can bring a gun. That's what it all boils down to, right?
Right. So in other words, as far as the 3006 and 3007 signs, I'm sure most of y'all are familiar with those. For license holders, because used to, you could put the signage up and give notice to license holders that they can't bring a firearm in. So you can't do that now in this setting. But they do have a sign, I think they're calling it 3005. I can pull it up and read you the exact language, but it says that a person's prohibited from bringing a firearm, restricted knife, or other prohibited weapon, but it does not apply to a license holder. So meaning it's prohibiting people that are unlicensed from bringing those items in, but it also says on the sign that it does not apply to a licensed holder. So, but in order to ban, the law says that even though they're prohibited, you still have to give notice. So, if the council would like, we can still put a sign up giving notice to people that are not licensed. We can give them the proper notice.
So in other words, if of course I am licensed, so I can strap it to my hip or put it in my purse and I can come in here.
Right.
Wow, okay.
So what you're saying, to keep the ones that don't have a license, you have to post a sign on the door. Otherwise, they can bring theirs in too. Or no?
Well, they still cannot, but you still,
So the council has to decide what the post is sign. Right?
right.
We can ask them not to, but by law, we can't stop them. Or can we even ask them by law?
The law says that people that are not licensed are still prohibited.
Right, that's true. So why would
License
we need a
is
sign?
But do they need, if you're unlicensed and they can carry in, however, if we have a 3005 sign out there, then the unlicensed people cannot carry in. Is that right? Is that right? Chief?
Well, I believe, I can go back to there, because it says that if unlicensed.
Because they have to be notified.
Right, but with the notice, it just raises the level of the offense. So if you have signage.
So is it a correct assumption then that if we decide to post a sign, that we will need to warn people as they come in, and if they're carrying, whether they have to show a license, or, how would we enforce that? I'm just trying to.
If the law passed for licensed carriers to be able to, then there's really nothing that you
No.
can post to withhold them from doing that.
Well, to
Right,
clarify.
yeah, there's nothing we can post to prohibit a licensed holder.
No.
The only thing that we're gonna post is just giving notice to those that are unlicensed.
So basically, we post a sign, but we don't have to, we don't have to warn people coming in. We've noticed them, and if they're in here unlicensed, then they're breaking the law.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, I think it would be a good practice, you know, if we see people bring their firearm in, you know, we have the right to, you know, see if they're a license holder or not. And, you know, we can just, because, you know, we don't automatically know, you know, who's a license holder and who's not. But, you know, we can verify that they are, and then we're good to go.
That was my question, I was
I think that's what Mr. Fowler was asking, is how you gonna identify whether a person has a license or not if they have it concealed or in a holster and shown? How are you gonna identify whether?
You know, there's nothing in the new bill that says, you know, they don't have a protocol on how to do all this. So, but I think it would be, you know, I don't see anything wrong with us, you know, verifying if we see someone bring a firearm in, we have the ability to verify that they're a license holder. And then if they're not, then.
But do they, and I don't know, because I'm not a license holder, but does a license holder have to carry the license with them?
Yes.
Okay, so it'd be no, and I see with, we was there.
Okay. Does somebody have a question?
Just a quick statement. You're speaking in regards to Fourth Amendment search and seizure rights. When we're talking about bringing someone into custody just for any unknown reason. Obviously, if you did find someone or saw someone with a gun, yeah, law enforcement has the right to ask a question. There's nothing wrong with that. And verification will simply go through the process of verification, whether or not they do have an LTC or a license to carry, is what we're talking about. And if law enforcement comes across information suggesting that they did not, then we go about our business and, you know, make the appropriate action, legal action in that case, to make an arrest or remove that person from the structure, building, or prohibited place in which they are in. If they are concealing it and no one ever knows about it, you're never going to know. That's the problem that we're running into as a constitutional area. Now, only option you have at this point would be to put a metal detector at the door and everybody walks through it, because it's got to be fair for everyone. So you want everybody, You put up a metal detector, everyone walks through it. But that's a process, that's a cost, that's an expense, and it's an expensive one. So those are our options at this point.
Right. And I went ahead and got one for court too, because when we have in-person court, we'll need one, but we do have a metal detector wand, and I mean, we could wand everybody that comes in. I have no problem doing that. Or I've priced out metal detectors. They're about $4,500 to $5,000 for an ADA compliant walk-through metal detector like they have in the courthouse. And
Does Lorena have one in their council?
I think they do, but, you know, that would be a quicker way. That'd be a lot quicker than wanding each individual person. And, you know, I have no problem saying, you know, if the council wants a walk-through metal detector, we'll get one. So, I mean, it can probably be paid out of court security fund or out of, you know, I have no problem, you know, helping.
I'll have to consider that.
Helping fund that too, so. So that's definitely an idea that we can think about at a later time, but definitely something we can consider.
They're not as expensive, I thought they were.
No.
They were like 10,000.
About 20.
Yeah, that's when you check on that.
Yeah, I found one for about an ADA compliant one for around $4,500, and that was with free shipping. And it's just one that I think it's already, you know, either no assembly or little assembly, and you just put it up, plug it into the wall, and you're ready to go.
We can put that on the agenda, I think.
Yeah.
Y'all can decide what you want to do about it.
But I do agree that, you know, if we do the walk metal detector, then everybody's gonna go through it. You know, we're not gonna be selective. It's gonna be everybody or nobody.
But you wouldn't mind paying for it out of the forfeiture money?
I have no problem with that.
Yes.
What Chief Dorsey is speaking about actually can come out of the court security fund. That fund is especially for things for the court, and court would be able to use that as well. So the funds that are, set aside for court security could easily pay for that.
Yeah, it'd be better,
So
yeah, it'd be
the money
better.
is there, and it would be
Keep
better
your
to use
money.
an asset management.
Get a new car.
Cool.
That'd be on the agenda.
Is the item on the agenda, do we need to decide about the posting of the 30-05 sign or not? Is that what we need to,
You need to decide whether you want the sign up.
yeah, and where we put it?
But
And
if you have the detector, well, you could, if they went off, you could say, let's see your license. If they don't have a license, you wouldn't need the sign.
Could they have it by our next meeting?
Chief, would you have a,
You can't make it up, it's not on the agenda.
I know,
The way it's on the
after I
agenda,
said that.
you can't
Yeah.
decide on putting the sign
Yeah,
up.
it'd have to be put on the agenda.
It would need to be on the agenda, but I would also like to tell council to please consider, before posting the sign, the legal matters that can come up. Austin is still in a lawsuit over a sign, so is that something the council really wants to take on? If you are a licensed gun carrier, which I am, we know the laws and we're gonna abide by them. If you are a criminal and you're coming into court, or you're coming through the door to commit a crime, whether you shoot me or one of you, you are not gonna stop and look at that sign and say, oh, they got a sign, I can't bring my gun in here and kill them, and go back to your car. The sign is not gonna make a difference, it's gonna be irrelevant. So I'm just asking y'all to consider that, and I have been told by other city managers and city administrators that they ought not to have the signs, just to avoid any lawsuits. It just makes life way easier.
And the only reason I brought the sign is because it's not a prohibition, it's not anything, it's not saying a license holder can't bring a gun in. It's excluding, it specifically excludes them from that in the signage. But under the new House bill, for an unlicensed carrier, it still says, you know, that there needs to be notice provided to them by a sign, because the notice has to be a legal signage. I mean, it has to be the signage. The specific verbiage in English and Spanish with the lettering in the background contrasting, and, you know, that sets the parameters in the law of what the signage has to be. But, I mean, in the new House bill and the way the law's always been, it still says that you need to provide notice to those that are not licensed. So, I mean, we would just be abiding by what the Texas law says.
Yes.
Don't you already have those signs? Did you already order those signs? You was going to, you talked about something that you just ordered?
Yeah.
Okay, so
So
you already have.
I'm kind of waiting to,
Uh,
I ordered them, but then
They had,
yeah, plus I'm waiting to see what
some of them actually.
yeah.
Thank you, Mr. McKenna. Is that Mr. Is this, Rick?
No, it's Fred King.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, all right, you're talking about metal detectors. Did you know that at the Apple, they have a separate lane for license holders? And if you're not a licensed, you go to a metal detector, and the GPS officer, your license, they look at it, they scan it in, and you enter the count. So the issue I see with putting everyone through a metal detector is it's going to go off. You don't want to be handling a firearm in the building. So I would suggest having a metal detector that those with a license to carry submit their license upon entrance. Those that don't, go through a metal Dorsey will agree to stipulate a handgun and like that. It needs to say holster or concealed. It's my mind.
You got a question?
Yeah, you were saying that you don't think people with license should go through the metal detector because it would be setting it off? Is that, you was kind of breaking up a little bit there, Mr. McCain, so I didn't quite understand that, what you were saying. I do know that if you have a metal detector, that, and if everybody knows there's one there, if you're licensed, when you walk in, you got the license in your hand. That way if you set it off, they know that you got license. You're breaking up really bad, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, to be fair, I mean, we could have everybody go through, but those that are license holders, you know, if they're gonna go through the metal detector, it's gonna set it off, but, you know, if they show us their license, then, you know, then just come on in. And we can avoid any issues with, you know, them taking their gun. I mean, there's no reason for them to take their gun out, because
So
we know
that's
they're
what, when I
license
get
holders.
stopped by the police officers, that's the first thing when they walk up, they got my license with them. I got one.
I mean, we can still have everybody come through, but those that are license holders, you know, they know what to do, and they know how to, you know, notify us that they have a license, and then they can just come on in.
Well, I think
that's all.
I think we should wait and put, I think we need to wait and put this on the agenda, and we can kind of think about it between now and then, and decide, so we can move on.
Thank you.
Yes, Sonia?
Oh, if you metal detector everyone and someone has like metal earrings, it would still go off. So would you have to have it like at the like other places where you have to put everything in a box before you go through the metal detector? Because then it's just gonna go off with it.
Well, I mean, on the one I was looking at, when you walk through, it has different zones, so when it goes off, if something metal sets it off, and they're wearing earrings, it's going to, the light's going to indicate that it's up high and not like around their waistband. So you could, you know, by looking at that, you could see, you know, if they walk through and it goes off at their head, you know, then you know it's probably earring or something, so.
But what if it's their phone? Would that set it off and it's at their waistband?
I mean, they'd have to, we'll probably have to have, you know, have them take out their phone and take the keys and stuff like that. We'll have to just discuss that later.
All right, yes, ma'am.
I was just saying that, my son has a good point, but also you would have, just like your wands, and if it did go off, you'd be like, okay, what's up here? If the zones didn't tell you, you'd be like, okay, that's it, it's her earrings. You might ask you to take them off and put them in a little bucket, or I don't know how y'all would feel about that, but, you know, like your phones, you would definitely put it to the side, because everybody has a phone. You know, that's something that you probably have to put to the side and then walk through it, but, you know, I'm sure that's.
On my knees, you just have them on.
Can't say after me.
Set them off. All right, but thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Next on the list is Water Department report, Eugene Brown.
Good afternoon, everyone. Obviously, I'm not cheating Sprouts. He is not here tonight, and I'm going to be cheating because I can't see for nothing. So his water report, he had 137 total incidents. He had 11 leaks. They did 5 cleanups and 13 street repairs. I want to let you folks know that this last week has been very hot. We had one of our employees actually have a heat-related illness while working in a hole of a leak. That employee is still not doing so well today. He's okay, but he's still not feeling well. I just asked the citizens to please keep in mind, when you see those guys out there working in those streets, remember how hot it is, and please show them respect. We have had people say some really ugly things about our water department guys, and I just, as a city administrator, I'd like to ask it. We applaud them for what they do, because they're out there 110 degrees, fixing a water leak, having almost a heat stroke to get the job done. So that's all I had to say in this report. So,
You know, would you want to explain to them why Gene was not here because of this and that?
He doesn't want that.
Okay, never mind. He doesn't want it done.
Yeah, he wants to get that.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
I will say the last couple of days, they have been really hard working. One of the employees was literally walking the streets in this heat with a blower, blowing the grass and the chips and everything while a truck drove behind them. And so these guys have really been working the last couple of days.
Yes, they have, and I just
Struggling.
want you to just keep in mind, it's easy to judge somebody when you're sitting on the side, but when you're out there in the street walking on that hot pavement, whether it's cutting a limb or pulling a limb out of the road, just please remember that, they're working hard for you guys. They're not doing it for me, they're not doing it for council, they're doing it for citizens. One thing I can honestly say to all employees at the city is we do our jobs for the citizens. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Connie.
You're welcome.
Before we go any further, I guess we can want to put that crown down there on the counter's floor. Today is her birthday. Her birthday. She already had a birthday party today.
My grandson got me this cane, and it says here that old lady approaching. It's got a hot flash fan, it's got a horn, it's got happy pills, and magnifying glasses. My grandson gave me this.
One of these days she'll go up right here.
Her birthday cake had 37 on it. I guess that's how old she is.
Yeah, I make sure that Mom knows her age and not what the papers say.
Anyhow, we want to wish her a happy birthday.
Well, thank y'all very much.
And let everybody know that she is running for mayor. So in November the 2nd, be sure and go and vote for Linda Owens for mayor. She'll make a wonderful mayor. And I encourage everybody to vote for her.
Mayor, you
Yes.
can't do that. Nothing is
I
the
can't
law.
do that.
There's
So
politics.
scratch that out.
Politics inside here.
Scratch that out, Pam.
Yeah, we're just that.
Okay. Let's see, the rest of the items we put on here by the mayor, I didn't put anything on. City council members. Number 7, review formats for city council performance review with city administrator and set date and time for review. Review format for city administrator performance reviews with city staff and set desired completion date. Still can't hear?
And Megan had a question for you, Megan.
Well, it wasn't a question I had asked Chief or stated something to Chief, and he said I could remark, but his report kind of went into 6 as well. And at the last meeting, he brought up about some of the things that he's been implementing. As in, they go around, they check the businesses, they find a door unlocked or something unsecure, and they get a hold of the business owners. But they've also been doing it for the residents. And he had mentioned the database, which came in very helpful this weekend. I personally had to go out of town at the last moment, didn't leave a front porch light on, told my neighbor where I was going to be, when I'd be back. He was going to take care of what I needed. My daughter-in-law was coming by, and about 1 o'clock, I got a call from one of the officers, said, "Is there anything I can do for you?" And I said, "Yes." "You have my gate code?" "Yes." Then we talked through it. He pulled in the yard. He was able to open my front door, turn on the porch light, make sure the premises were secure. Everything was going on because my cameras were going off, and I was 1,000 miles away. So I do want to compliment Chief on the progress that he's been implementing, and the officers and the awesome job they have been doing day and night patrolling the residents.
Thank you. We do appreciate y'all. Okay, the review the formats.
We, Miss Owens and myself and Sonia have, over the course of a couple of gatherings, put together largely according to Sonia's wishes, the format for her performance evaluation. And each of us have a copy of the city administrator performance evaluation. And so that's basically just what we bring to council, or Sonia brings to council, is the evaluation format. And then we just need to decide, when we want to get these completed and turned in, and when we want to schedule the review. And I don't know if we can do this also under this budget, this agenda item, but we'd also need to make the same, set the same date with the chief on his review as he's already presented to us. So I'm hoping to do that, both of them under the same agenda item. So go ahead, Sonia.
Nothing, I just wanted to tell y'all that actually what I did was I took the examples that Mr. Fowler had given to council and myself previously, and I reviewed them and kind of took the format of that, but I took my job description and the city of Bruceville-Eddy specifically and made my review to correspond with what I actually do. I don't think I should be evaluated on a city manager position, being that I'm not a city manager, and I certainly should not be evaluated on a city of 5,000 population or whatever. I feel like I should be evaluated for my performance based on this city, based on what I've done for these citizens. And saying that, I also feel that it's important because this will follow me. This can very easily taint my career and why I worked for my entire life in my education. I would like to ask that it go one step further from just council evaluating me, but I would like to give each employee a blank form. They do not put their name on it, and have my employees evaluate me. Because my employee, or our employees, they're the ones that knows how I deal with citizens. They're the ones that knows how I communicate. They're the ones that sees me standing out here holding somebody's head and crying with them. They're the people that's going to know better how I do my job. So I think that their opinions should be included in that performance. That's the only thing I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Anybody want to make a motion on that?
If it works for everybody, I would propose that we, complete these and then, of course, turn them into Sonia. We'll have our own copies, of course, and then schedule the review, hopefully with Chief and with Sonia at the workshop session time of the next meeting, which would be the 23rd, I think, of September. And I don't know if during a workshop session if we can do it in executive session or not. Yeah, I would prefer it. I don't know, how Sonia would feel about it or how Chief would feel about it. I prefer they be in executive session.
Generally speaking, in an employee evaluation type setting, it's generally done in a private setting. Because the purpose for an employee evaluation is it should be a tool to help that employee grow and better, to improve their skills. So those should be in a more private setting. However, I'm not opposed to having it in an open setting. We can do it in front of a whole council or a whole city, I don't care. It's whatever council decides. Like I said, I'm not opposed to having citizens present or whatever y'all decide. I don't know how Chief feels, but that's fine.
I'm good in public. We serve the citizens just like the city administrator does. So we're here for the citizens, and I'm more than happy to do my evaluations in the public setting or whatever is appropriate.
So it's really up to council, I guess is what we're saying, huh?
Yes, sir.
This is not an evaluation of staff like that. is not something you do in a public setting, nor is a council meeting, where it's open to the public. It needs to be private. You don't, I mean, that's just their dirty laundry. You gotta do it in a private setting. There's gotta be council and staff.
So what you could do at that meeting, you could go into executive session and do that. Can we do that during the workshop?
I think you could do it in the workshop if you word it, council to discuss. You can say council can discuss and take action. If you have to take action, I think you can do it in the workshop.
You can't take action in the workshop.
So you cannot go into executive session in a workshop. You have to open a meeting before you go into an executive session. However, there is nothing saying that all 5 council members or 6 council members have to be present. So what you can do is y'all can fill out your forms and y'all can make a committee, like Ms. Owens and Mr. Fowler or Mr. Wiggins and Mr. Weber. Make a committee that those 2 people are going to be the ones that review them. So every one of the council members are filling out their forms, putting in their thoughts and their input, and then y'all can have 2 council members meet and go over it with Dorsey and I, if you choose to. If you don't want to do it that way, then you're going to have a meeting, and you're going to have to call executive session, and then go into executive session if everybody's wanting to be in attendance.
Yeah.
I'm willing to, if Mr. Ballard is willing to do it like we did before, you know, wait till everybody gets it in, and then him and I look them over, and then discuss it over, discuss it, decide what to do. It's okay with you? It's okay.
Is that okay with you?
We just meet up here on a certain day or something, like we did before.
Yeah, that'd be okay with me.
Okay.
Somebody has to make a motion.
Maybe we're gonna,
Okay.
like a motion, when we have to turn them in, but
Before the meeting,
For
sometime.
the next meeting, right?
Yeah, before the next meeting, sometime, maybe next week. One day next week.
I would say, may I make a suggestion? I would suggest maybe by like the 21st on that Tuesday, and then what I'll do is if y'all forward them to me, then I will forward them to Mr. Fowler and to Ms. Owens. That gives them a couple days to review it, and then they can call a meeting with Dorsey and myself, and we could set up that time.
I just suggesting, I'm not trying to complicate it, but I think there ought to be 2 separate people. If we're gonna do a committee, we ought to have 2 separate people meet with Chief Dorsey, than the people that meet with you. I mean, just to involve more council.
Okay, yeah, that's a good idea too.
So, you got that, Pam?
We got to make a motion.
Y'all have made a motion.
Council members
We're
are
supposed to
chief
have-
and then 2 different ones from her. Is that what you're saying?
I think it's 25.
Yes.
Because all we're gonna be doing is looking over what everybody has said, and then we're just going from that. We're not actually going, okay, well, I don't like what they said, I'm gonna go this way. We have to go by what's written on that piece of paper.
And then meet at the and then at the council meeting, go in executive session and talk about it. Is that what you're saying?
If need be, or just go ahead, once we meet and stuff, we can decide, then what we can decide at that meeting, say, or say, if Mr. Fowler and I are doing this, if we look at those evaluations and stuff, and then him and I can look it over, and then we talk with that person, and we can say, okay, this is what we come up with, and this is what has to be done,
Just
or changed, or,
Just a summary, I guess, of the,
and then we can make it from that, and then we can give the results, maybe in the council meeting. No, we can't do that, okay, then we just have to do it individually when we're there.
Okay.
So it's not really up to the public. It's nothing for
There's
the,
no-
basically what we're saying, there's nothing for the public to know about this.
There's no action,
It's-
yeah, there's
yeah.
no action.
Yeah.
Right?
It's just an employee review.
Yeah, the employees review, that's all it is.
What were you saying? What was your date, Mr. Bruce?
I didn't have no date, they was talking about,
21st would be
Sonia
good.
suggested the 21st.
21st?
or what? What do you want?
No, I'm suggesting y'all have
No,
paperwork.
that's when you
submitted.
turn them in by.
Oh,
They turn their due in by.
well, I
Turn
thought
it in
you,
by the
I thought
21st.
you were trying to set a date where you could have two people for chief and then. Mark.
No, I think we're just talking about a date right now, turn them in.
Okay,
Yeah, 21st will turn
Okay.
it in.
where you gonna turn them in?
Yes, sir.
I just have a question on that. You're going to turn in, each one of you is going to fill out an evaluation of the staff member, whoever, you know, and then you're going to turn those in to the staff member that you're evaluating?
No.
No.
But that's what they said.
Yeah,
And
that's,
that's what y'all said.
I mean, you
You
can-
turn it in.
I don't understand, why would you do that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
All right.
because as an employee, I have a right to see what each one of them say
Well, you
because I'm
do
in
that
the
in,
meeting.
but you do that in the
Right.
session,
In the session.
when you're being
Right.
evaluated.
So do you suggest that we have a meeting with all council to do this? The evaluation? Okay.
Yes, Ms. Lisa.
Can I suggest that maybe there be a lockbox put in for the staff members to put in their eval, so it's private, and then the council hand everything to the mayor by the 21st, and then the mayor will give all stuff, the lockbox, the council, to the two people that will be doing the evaluation.
I think that's.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, but the council could put it in a sealed envelope and write the mayor's name on it.
Yes.
Right, right.
All right. Okay.
Sounds like a good idea to me.
I'm gonna make a motion then that on the 21st of September 2021, that we have our evaluations filled out for Sonia Bishop and for Chief Dorsey, and that those are put into sealed envelopes and handed to the mayor. And the staff is going to put in their evaluation in a lockbox. Everything will be handed over to the mayor. Then the mayor will make sure that it goes to the two people that are going to look over all the evaluation, over all of the evaluations for this job title. Is that about it?
And when are you gonna look it over, on the 21st?
What day, they're gonna turn it in on the
Turn
21st,
in you 21st.
That'd be the 22nd.
22nd, or 22nd.
What day is-
And
what
review
day
it
is-
on the 22nd,
Okay, so it'll be a Wednesday, okay.
Wednesday the 22nd.
Second, motion.
Motion made and seconded, any discussion? I'm not gonna repeat all of that.
No.
Okay, all in favor? 5 yeas. Okay.
You have a question on the board, Mayor?
Yes.
Would a second motion be to be made, what two are gonna do the administrator and what two are gonna do the evaluations for the chief? So there needs to be an additional motion to
Yeah.
determine what two are gonna do each
Yeah, that would
job.
be a good idea, just go ahead and vote on it. Okay.
I'm making a motion that the Owens and Mr. Fowler, since they did it before, that those that they do it again, and I'll, make a motion one season, Mr. Wiggins, that Mr. Gore is chief.
Chief. All
Or
right.
chief.
I'll second that.
All right, motion made and seconded. The two for Sonia Bishop and the other two for, the chief. All in favor? 5. Are you voting? Mr. Fowler, you voting?
I did, I'm sorry, yes, sir.
5 yeas, no nays. Is that settled then?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Item number 8, council to discuss, consider, and possibly take action on council members conferring with our city attorney about city matters. Mr. Wiggins, that's yours.
Oh, yes, we talked about this in the workshop, and it was about the, okay, this is about conferring with the city attorney about city matters. And I had written the TML, and I had this on the agenda last time, but I forgot my email, so I put it off, because I didn't have it in writing. But at the workshop, I made copies of it and handed it to all the council members. So I'll just kind of read you what I asked the TML attorney, and then what he said. So I said, does the councilman have a right to call, text, and or email the city attorney? The mayor told me I had no right to call an attorney if he charges that I would have to pay for. I have found nothing in any of our ordinances or anything else that would prevent me from contacting our attorney for legal matters pertaining to our city. I have in the past, and it wasn't an issue. The reason I believe that the mayor said this is when he called me to tell me about him canceling the special call meeting, he left me a message about it and when he was going to reschedule the call. So before I returned the mayor's phone call, I called our attorney and just asked him if he'd be able to attend the meeting on that day, which he was going to be there at 10 a.m. on Monday. He checked his schedule and told me that he could be there then. I then called the mayor and informed him that I had spoken with the attorney and that he said that he could be there on August 19th. This is when the mayor told me I had no right to call the attorney, and if you charge the city for that, then I'll have to be the one who pays for it. The mayor stated he didn't think there was needed attorney at the meeting, and that if we went into executive session to speak about the city administrator, we would not need our attorney present. I asked the mayor if he was going to ask the attorney to be at the meeting, and he said no, he was not going to ask him to come. Please let me know your thoughts. And here's what the attorney said. This really depends on whether the city council has adopted a policy. The city attorney represents the city, his/her client, and the mayor and the city council are the city's elected officers. However, some cities do adopt policies that limit the use of an attorney by city council members as the legal costs can exceed what is budgeted. I will discuss with the city attorney and replace the item on the agenda for council discussion and action. They may agree with the mayor or you. Additionally, the agenda lists 551-071, and then, which is consultation with attorney, and 551-074, which is personnel matters, of the government code as possible exceptions to an open session. Please keep in mind that if the city attorney must be present or available by telephone if the council will proceed under 551.071, which is consultation with attorney. If the council proceeds under 551.074, which is personnel matter, the city administrator has the right to request that the discussion regarding his/her position remain in open session. They do not have a right, however, to request that the council take the discussion into executive session. So that was all, just trying to clarify this about a council member calling a city attorney and asking questions about city matters. So hopefully that will help clarify that, and I believe that the council should be able to call, if needed. Not just, obviously you're not going to just call on a daily basis, just pertinent things. I believe the council should have it right. And that's all I have for that, Mr. Mayor.
So what you're basically saying is you think each council member should be able to not only just call, but they confer and
To contact, yeah.
with the city attorney, and the city attorney is going to work with you on something that the rest of the council, mayor, city administrator is not even aware of, and then send the city a bill for like $3,000.
I don't know nothing about no $3,000, but I mean, obviously they're gonna charge you. Are they gonna charge you when you call them, text or email?
They sure do.
Yes.
And if they spend 10 or 12 or 20 hours on something that you've arranged with him, you think he's not gonna charge $190 an hour for that?
Whatever his going rate
Yeah.
is per hour.
We haven't
That's what
received the
they do
bill
charge.
yet, but I'm estimating it to be $3,000.
Yeah.
So you saying that's all
But
right?
that's incorrect,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
You know, I'm sitting here trying to solve the issue here, whether any council member, not just me, has the right to call, text, or email the city attorney. That's the bottom line. And I believe that, given that we have no policy in effect that says we can't, then we do have that right. That's my opinion. And that's this
Okay.
TML attorney's opinion too.
Well,
Okay.
that's not what I found out. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Wiggins, was this the same lawyer, the advice you got in that email, was it the same lawyer that was making all that money? That you got the advice from?
No, ma'am, this is TML.
An outside lawyer?
Yes.
That's free.
This is TML, where they're free to counsel member. If you wanna call, text,
Okay.
email.
Okay, well, Mr. Mayor, I suggest that we, as a city council, have a policy where at least the mayor needs to be aware of any council or phone calls made to any lawyers that are gonna charge the city, because that's my tax money. And I wanna know where it's going, when it's going, and who it's going to, and for what.
Well, there
And I
could
want
be,
accountability, and there needs to be at least the mayor that is conferenced into those calls. There's such thing as conference calls now that you can do. And so there needs to be at least one witness to those phone calls so that tax money is not being used for things it shouldn't be used for.
Yeah. I
And I'm
agree.
not accusing you, Mr. Wiggins, of doing anything like that, but it would keep everybody honest.
okay, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
okay, well, here's the thing with that, ma'am. I mean, there's times that what you're saying is you want, if I understand you right, you want any council member that wants to confer with the attorney to go through the mayor first. What if the mayor's incapacitated? What if he's not available? What if he's out? So we just, and it's something that.
Then you have plan B, you have you have another contact person, you have another council member, but you have somebody to, as a witness. How do I know that you weren't getting personal advice from that lawyer? How do I know that?
I'm not getting no personal advice, ma'am, because when the attorney, I know you don't know this, because you don't see the bill, do you?
No, sir,
Okay,
I don't.
all right, so when they do send a bill, they list on there, they give a summary of the date and time and hours, minutes, or whatever that they talked and what it was about.
Okay.
So that's all broken down.
And who?
Well, how do I know that lawyer?
And yes, and who, that's right. So it's all,
How do I know that lawyer isn't in somebody's pocket up here? Huh?
how do I know it's not in the city administrator, ma'am? Or how do I know it's not in the mayor?
There needs to be
I mean,
a witness, there needs to be someone conferenced into that call.
Yeah.
That would stop all the.
Okay. Thank you.
I have called myself to the city, and well, of course, TML, it's free. You can do that, they don't charge you because, to do it. But anytime I've called the city attorney, I have always went through the mayor and said, hey, I'm gonna call him and ask him this question. He said, that's fine.
Thank you.
I do that.
Thank you for
But
being
I knew
honest.
I could call the city attorney, but I know there's protocol, you gotta go up the
Yes,
ladder.
There's nothing.
You're out of order.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
I just wanted to add, if each one of you did that, then it's gonna cost a whole lot of money. And that's why you have one person and then a backup, and then that's how you go through the channel properly. You can't just all run, and do your own
There's
chain of command.
Yeah.
Chain,
Yeah.
I'm out of order, I know.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Weaver.
Okay. Okay. And I'm not saying I'm opposed to that. I'm saying that we need some guidelines. Right now, there is none. None.
That needs to be put on the agenda.
Yeah, there is no guidelines
There needs
right
to
now.
be a city policy
Mhm.
where these kinds of questions should not be coming up.
Exactly.
And maybe we could check with other cities and see
Yes.
what kind of,
That's a
policy
good-
they have.
Yes.
I have checked with other cities. They do not, the city attorneys, just like he's told us the first night he was here, he did not work for individuals.
Mhm.
He worked through this, first he goes through the city administrator and then to the mayor, and then he addresses the council as a whole. He does not work individually with one councilman. That's exactly what he did. That's the reason he needs to go,
Yeah.
in my opinion, because I don't have a vote.
Thanks, Mayor.
Yes,
Okay, one other thing is, you know, does most of the time, our city attorney probably communicates with the mayor, Sonia, and her chief. Okay, and that's understandable. But is there times that, maybe a council member asks questions? Yes. And could I say, okay, here's my question, Ms. Bishop or Mr. Mayor, and then you call him and ask them, and then they give you a response, well then, okay, now that might spur another question. So what are you gonna do? He gonna come back and tell them this is what he said, and I'll say, well, okay, well, what about this? You know, I'm trying to be real thorough.
I don't have a problem with you calling the lawyer. The problem I have is there's no accountability when you do call. Have accountability. That solves the problem. You have someone conference with.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm not saying I disagree with you, man.
okay,
Just
yes,
saying that we
Russ.
need a policy.
I just want to say it needs to be something fair for the citizens. It's their money. I did an open records request, and just one of y'all's phone calls alone was over $600 and something dollars. Just one phone call was over 600 something. And all this damn bickering needs to be stopped between the mayor and Ricky and everybody. It needs to stop. It's getting out of hand. City needs y'all, and y'all are letting everybody down right now.
Yes.
Y'all ought to be ashamed of yourself, all of you, every damn one of you. I'm just sick and tired of it.
Well, I understand what you're saying, Wes.
And I've got your emails too, Ricky. You're one of the worst. You and Phil Rainey, you're so childish. Y'all, what you're accusing everybody else of, you're the ones doing it.
Well, you're wrong.
No, I'm not. I got the emails in the truck. You got them right here.
But here's the thing,
Right there.
you know, I mean, you may think.
You're a liar, Ricky. That's all you want.
Okay,
You stir it up.
Yes,
Could it be put on the agenda to discuss, maybe not the next one, but work on an ordinance or a policy?
exactly.
Because I know that, and I've brought this up before, anytime it's been a question, answer, another question, then everyone is CC'd on those emails, and I've gotten a lot of answers, and I've been able to give a lot of information, all through email, and work things out long before we ever come to the council meeting or even had to put them on the agenda. And the same thing can be done with that situation.
Okay. All right, thank you. Number 9, council to discuss, consider, and possibly take action on the mayor's authority to cancel any special meeting called by city council members. Mr. Wiggins?
Yes, sir, I put that on there again. I checked with the TML attorney, same attorney that I had this, other one, last, number 8 on there. And what it is I want to know if the city, I know that the mayor can cancel a special call meeting that he calls or regular. I know, but can he cancel a special call meeting called by the council? That's my question. And the answer to that is generally, absent any local regulations or policies, a mayor does not have the authority to cancel a call meeting. So, we don't have no local regulations or policies. So with that said, this attorney, Tim Will, says the mayor cannot cancel a special call meeting called by the council. That's all I'm trying to do is look for clarity.
Well, in the first place, I know what you're referring to. You're referring to the meeting that's.
I'm referring to a special call meeting called by the council.
I know what you're referring to. You're talking about the council meeting that y'all set for 10 o'clock on a Monday morning, and the people called me and asked me and complained about it, said they could not come to the meeting at 10 o'clock in the morning because they were at work or whatever. So I didn't cancel the meeting, I changed it from 10 o'clock Monday morning to 6:30 on Thursday. So if you don't, that's all. That's all I got to say. I'm not going to say no more.
Okay.
I have something to say, because I was the one that actually sent a message to every single person when this issue came up. Every one of you council members, I messaged the exact same message. Why is there no transparency? Why was this done at 10 a.m. when 80% of this town works 8 to 5? That it needed to be in the evening when we could attend and see what was going on. That is transparency. It should not be done in secrecy or when nobody can attend. I sent the same message to all of you. Several responded. Oh yes, I can show you on my phone. I have it with your name, Valor's name, Talbert's, Mr. Griffin, and Linda Owens, and the mayor. And they actually responded. And they agreed it needed to be transparent.
That don't mean I got it.
I sent it to you.
That don't mean I got it.
I'm not
I
going
didn't
to
get it.
argue. The thing is, it needed to be transparent. It needed to be open so that more than 5 people could attend, so that we could actually know what was going on. That was my request, and I thought that was fair. So he did take it upon himself to move the time so that we, the people, could see everything that was going on. I don't see a problem with that.
And
Thank you.
Yeah, and Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Okay, well, this lady is actually for me.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. I didn't see you.
I don't know if we're supposed to stand.
You can if you want to.
So, again, I'm in here and I don't really know all the who's and wherefores about the past and, to me, y'all are on equal ground right now, I don't know anything about any of y'all. But, as far as the attorney thing goes, I agree with the lady here about accountability. However, if there is somebody on the council that perhaps is, maybe getting mistreated, again, I have no idea what's happening, but let's just suppose that everybody's against this one, whatever. Again, I have no idea. Then that person, I would think, would need a leg, would need to gain some ground for defense or whatever. And so there's no bias, so there's no, partisanship or whatever. And so that's just all I would like to suggest. Accountability is very important, yes, for the city money and whatnot, but, if somebody is struggling with their defense, I'm
Thank you.
including things, so.
Thank you. The TML, the city is a member of the TML, and any of them can call their lawyers at no cost. And usually if they have a question or something, they could call them and get it in. Why would they want to go and cost the city money. But thank goodness, come November the 2nd, I will no longer be the mayor, so I'll be out of here and be in more trouble, hopefully. Okay.
Just right quick, a lot of times the TML attorneys, that's Texas municipal, that's part of the insurance.
Yeah.
They'll give you an opinion, but they say always refer back to your local attorney. Well, I don't do that.
Yeah. That's true. Okay. Anything you want to take action on number 9? Mr. Goodman?
No, sir. No, sir.
Thank you.
Information.
All right, city business, this is, the rest of this, item 10. Council to discuss, consider, and possibly take action on approving the budget for the general fund. This is what we just, had the, public hearings on, and now, the council has to vote. So does somebody want to approve?
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
can I excuse you a moment? Item number 6 was never a motion made to table that and
It was not
discuss-
tabled.
Well, it was,
Mr.
no.
Brent McCain sent an email, which I got, saying that he authorized the chief to speak on his behalf, which the chief did.
Okay, well, it said consider, discuss, and take action.
Yeah.
So, there was no action.
There was no action taken, it was just discussion. Okay, item number 10, approve the budget for the general fund. Nobody wants to make a motion?
I make the motion that we, accept, let me get here, that we approve the budget for the general fund.
Motion made and seconded to approve, the budget for the general fund for the upcoming fiscal year. All in favor?
Is that the ordinance that we need to approve, or do we need to approve the budget?
You're gonna approve the budget and the ordinance, and I forgot to put the ordinance number down.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. So you're gonna say ordinance number 1.
Is that the maintenance and operation?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Is that 09-9-21?
09-2021-01.
Yes, that's correct, Ms. Woods. So motion to accept and approve the general fund budget and ordinance.
Yeah,
Is
we
that
all
what you
want
want?
it.
I'll add that to it.
All in favor? 5 yeas. So the budget is approved for the fiscal year. Number 11, council to discuss, consider, and possibly take action on approving the budget for the water fund.
On the water fund, we talked about this in the workshop, and an item was left out of the budget, and I want to talk about putting it back in there, and it's to secure some extra water a year and a half or 2 out of Falls County, because Falls County has no restrictions on digging wells, like McClellan can't do it in McClellan County. So we found a spot out on 451, and the gentleman is willing to work with the council. And also, we've been out of compliance in Falls County for many years, and we have other problems in the city as well to address. But right now, we have to address this issue to get us in compliance with the government, and also to secure us water for the next 20, 30 years. But basically, to begin with, putting a new water line down the railroad track and interstate from Texas 7 up to 451 and down about another half mile over right past the well side, and come in time. And this will help all the Falls County area. Also, you'll have water down to 451 where industry is coming. Channel 6 and down there where JC Construction, whatever, built a concrete plant, did it out there. And that will open that up. So, the water committee has talked about this, several issues, and, that's me and, Ms. Bishop, Mr. Griffin, Larry Roman, Gene, and Pam's involved in, it's basically our unanimous agreement to include the funds in this budget, but if we don't, we won't be able to do it, period. Doesn't mean we have to do it. It just allowed us to do it. Therefore, I'm gonna make a motion that we, under number 50-00-6682, capital expenditures of water, that we include $550,000 to put in that water line. The estimate from next year before was about $500,000. So I so make that motion included in the budget, under that item.
Which item number?
It's not listed on there. It's something we hadn't used in a while. Mrs. Marino gave it to me to include 50-00-6682. I'll wrote it down here. See, water projects. I put in progress is what she said something.
Are you familiar? Y'all familiar with that?
I'm not familiar with that line item at all. I'm familiar with Mr. Talker talking about Fox County, but to be quite honest, I thought that the budget was going to be set, and then we were going to do an ordinance to adjust the budget to bring that money in once we knew an exact figure of what this was going to be.
You got to specifically engineer that to get an exact figure. Mr. Man had said before it's about $250,000 if he doubled that now.
Correct.
Now, we did talk about that in the water committee, did we not, Mr. Griffin?
Yes, we talked about that, sir, but we did not agree to a dollar amount. And we did not agree to put it in this budget as a dollar
We agreed
amount.
that that's about what it was going to be.
Excuse me, sir, I was trying to finish my statement.
Sorry.
Nor did we agree to put it in a specific line item, nor did we agree on a specific amount, nor did we agree that it was going to be. We talked and we said we would do a separate ordinance.
I've never heard that. I've never heard that from you.
Did we, Mr. Griffin?
I remember talking about the ordinance.
Okay. Well, I didn't remember. Anyway, earlier in the year, I talked about including this in the budget.
Right.
More than once.
Yes.
And the committee never got asked.
Right. But what I request, I'm not saying don't do it. Don't get me wrong. Okay, I'm not objecting to that. What I'm saying is the water budget is created based off of the revenue. What you're talking about, that money is going to have to be pulled from the fund balance.
Yeah.
It's not a revenue expense.
Can I show you something, anybody?
Sure.
In the general fund, the police department's been capital money.
Mm-hmm.
It's not all of that money is not generated by revenue because it's cheap. The mayor at a meeting 2 ago said our tickets are way down. We can't even pay the part we pay. Also, in the construction of progress for this building is capital expenditure. It don't come out of revenues generated either.
Right.
It's all accumulated, same as the water. Same as the water.
But this budget that you're voting on tonight was based off of the expense and revenues that is going to be generated. It's not including any of the fund balance.
Where do you think the rest of the money comes from, what I talked about? Same thing. I make a motion.
Well, I have one question. We have just had a public hearing on the proposed budget, and this is gonna change that proposed budget by over $500,000.
Okay, I didn't know, I just thought I was.
I don't.
I asked if they do make a difference.
I think, we have to vote on the proposed budget, right? This was not in the proposed budget. Yes, Mr. Williams.
Sonia, we can go ahead and adopt the budget as is, and then later, I believe you stated if we needed that money, once we got the exact figure, then the council could at that time move that money out of reserve for that project. Is that right?
Yes, sir, that is 100% correct. And the reason I would suggest doing it that way is it's cleaner, because your budget, as y'all know, we pulled in our revenues, we projected what our revenues were, we projected where our expenses were, and we balanced those. The projects that we're going to need to do, all future water projects, are going to have to come under fund balance. Your emergency fund, your rainy fund, whatever you want to call it, but it's technically it's a fund balance. So you're gonna do a amendment, an ordinance amendment, and you're gonna pull in 550,000, 600,000, whatever the total is for that project from your fund balance into that expense line. So you're still gonna put the money to the project, and you're still gonna do the project, it's just a difference in how it's being put down. So my suggestion to cancel is to move forward with your proposed budget. Then, after October 1st, because we're not gonna build that well, we're not gonna do that water line before October 1st, then we need to work on that project. And all water projects, as we talked about.
They will have to amend the budget to do that, correct?
Right, but it's a different way of doing the
Okay.
budget. It's still gonna be budgeted money,
I got
it's
no
just,
problem
it's coming
with
from,
that.
it's not coming from revenue, it's
But
coming from
I
fund
got no
balance.
problem with it, I just thought I'd try to do it right this way with the budget. That's what we sort of talked about, so I ain't no
This
problem
is
with it. I just think this is the cities and community all around, including Horseshoe Bend, and old Bruceville-Eddy, and out toward Bethany, because that's gonna free us water that's coming from 25, 30. Plus it'll take all these wells and Blue Bonnet from going that way and put it back here.
Right.
If we can do something else.
Right.
But this is huge right now, and not that everybody else is not. I want to fix everybody's water.
Right.
You know, I
We
don't
have-
live without no water, you can't.
We have several areas. We have 20
Yes, I
people
know
that are
where-
waiting for meters.
I know where
That's
they
what
are.
we get meters for. We have Foss County issues. We do know we have these issues. The good news is we do have some money sitting in reserve that we can allot for that. So, I'm not saying that your way is wrong, I'm not saying that my way is wrong,
need
but
to
saying
say
that
you
I, as a city administrator, would like to suggest cancel to approve your proposed budget as it was done off your revenue expenses, and then at a later date, do an
I have
ordinance
no
to
problem with
amend.
that, but you also said we got COVID money, so we have to think too, that you wanted to put that money toward this.
Right, we can do it all at one time in that one ordinance, with the $220,000 just be met.
Okay, Ms. Owen.
Okay, so, on the rest time, yeah. So if we go with this, what he's doing tonight, does that mean that that's gonna be a group to do this fall stuff before we
No.
get our citizens taken care of?
So
So we need
what-
to take care of our citizens first.
So what's gonna happen is if you go forward with your proposed budget tonight, what has been proposed to the council for this whole, whatever, how many days it's been, you're gonna approve that budget. Then on the agenda item, whenever we're ready to do that project, or any project for that matter, we will have an ordinance changing and showing where we're gonna pull the money from and where we're gonna allot the money to. So for example, you're gonna pull $600,000 from Fund 50-00-3000, which is your fund balance, your emergency fund. You're gonna reduce that by 600,000. You're gonna increase expense line 50-00-6202. Is that the one?
6682, I think.
6682.
Oh, can I say something, just say it on that, and I'm stopped. The only reason it needs to be in here, that's modified revenue disbursement. It shows all the money, to all these citizens, everybody else where it's going. You can capitalize it, just take it out of cash and put it over here in fixed assets. This is what we're about to do, is what's the money, or it shows the council where money is going.
Right, and it's
That's
still
the
gonna be
reason,
capitalized.
it's actually not expense. It's going to be capitalized and appreciated all for life, but at the beginning, it needs to be shown on here. That's standard, generally accepted accounting and audit principles. So it's trying to be, like the lady said, transparent.
Right, but you know, Gatsby is kind of like a lawyer, we all have opinions. My professional opinion is, this is the way this is the way I want to
as
do it
well. I
as a
work on
city.
city Waco audits.
Right,
I understand that.
I understand, I have a different perspective, and this is how I'm presenting it to the
Yeah,
council.
that's just like you reading those bond packages.
Ms. Wiggins.
Yeah, a couple of months ago, it was mentioned, or maybe a couple of meetings ago, it was mentioned about some COVID money. Where is that located in your budget? Where, what line item is that?
That money. So we just received $220,000 the end of August. And that is listed, if I'm not mistaken, Esther created a line item. That is not in your budget. Again, that's going to be part of this ordinance we're going to do to bring that money in on October 1st. Because that is not a revenue money.
Have you already received the money?
We received half of it. We'll receive half, we just
What
received
is
220. $220, I don't know the number off the top of my head, $220,000.
Then if you've already received that, then
We
would you
received-
already show that on the
We
budget?
received that after we did the proposed budget. We just received it, like it just hit our bank. So we can, and that's what I'm saying, we can do the ordinance to change it to bring that money in. Because also in August of 2022, we're gonna have to do another ordinance to bring in the other half of that money, which is your other 220,000.
But it definitely needs to be in your budget to
Right.
show actual, to show
And
the
if-
citizens actual money coming in and money going out.
Right, so your proposed budget, the proposed budget the council has tonight, that was, in that moment in time, that was the 100% revenue that you had and the expenses that we projected. You have since then received $220,000. Y'all saw that, I mean, Mr. Wiggins, you were on that, you were in that committee. You know I'm telling the truth. Mr. Fowler was in that committee as well. We have received that money since then.
I knew you got it.
Right, so, again, that money can be used towards what Mr. Fowler's talking about, which would also mean you would have a separate line item for that. So it's up to you all, how y'all want to proceed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good.
I understand what you're trying to get accomplished here, regarding the new well and so forth, utilizing some funds that are, that have come in. I do think that Sonny Bishop, city administrator, is correct.
Excuse me, we can't hear you. You got some out of the noise.
Okay, there it goes. I would suggest to the council that you go ahead, you've got a motion, you've got a budget that's already been worked on. It's been presented to the citizens. You need to go ahead and vote on it and get it passed. And then then you all make a motion to put the well on the agenda for your next meeting, and you take care of how it's going to be funded at that time. If you're using the COVID funds to do it, then you're going to put it in your agenda that way to make sure that that well gets put in, because that well is something that is needed for expansion of Bruceville-Eddy. You're a councilman, right?
Well, you're talking. The well's gonna come about a year and a half, but we got, the council voted with the party committee to secure a deal with Mr. Steffy to get that done, so we gonna hold it. But the line's laid first. Now, she's right, we've got some different funds, we got the money to do this, even the mayor said that. So
Right.
the funding's not a problem right now, maybe the well will be. That's gonna be about $2.5 million. We can't do it now.
But you're gonna,
But you're
gonna go ahead and get it on the agenda, and where y'all can go ahead.
Yes, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, that's just my suggestion. Y'all do what you want.
I'll retract that motion.
That makes sense. Thank you.
I make a motion to approve the water budget as presented. Did I change it?
Okay. Motion. Okay. Is there a second?
Yes, it just takes a little bit.
Cecil said.
Oh, second. Okay. Motion made and seconded, to approve the, proposed budget for the water fund for the coming fiscal year.
And that ordinance, is that the ordinance number 09-2021-02?
Yes, sir, that's the one that's on your dice.
Okay.
Okay. All in favor? 5, unanimous. Okay, thank you. Item 12, council to discuss, consider, and possibly take action on approving ordinance number 09-9-21, which is a tax ordinance, adopting tax rate of 50 cents per $100 valuation, which is what we have now. This is per section 26.05B. And a motion to adopt the ordinance must be made in this following form. Exactly. So if somebody wants to make a motion, they can just read this. I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 50 cents, which is effectively a 4.19% increase in the actual tax received.
I make a motion. I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 0.500000, which is effectively a 4.19% increase in the tax rate.
Discussion, didn't we say we need to correct that it's not the increase in the tax rate?
It's just an increase in tax.
Well, this is the way they want it. We have to.
Do they want it to
Legally,
say?
that's the way it has to be worded.
Oh, okay.
But technically, no, it's not raising the taxes.
Okay, gotcha.
The city will actually receive, what is it, about $7,000 more or something? Something like that, but it's not, we're not going up on our tax rate. It's the valuations that the McLennan County Appraisal District has raised the values here in town. Okay, all in favor?
Who did somebody say?
Yeah. 5 yeas, no nays. Okay, consent agenda. A, council to discuss, consider, and possibly approve the minutes from the special call meeting of August 25th, 2021.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes for the special call meeting in August the 25th of 2021.
Can you do all three?
Yes, you
Okay,
can.
and approving the minutes for August the 26th of 2021 regular call council meeting, and approving the minutes for special call workshop August 30th of 2021.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve item 13, A, B, and C. All in favor?
Just, can I have one question? And I couldn't pull the minutes up quickly, but it was on the meeting where we had the question from Mr. Bella on the application for a meter, and there was we made a motion to get some follow-up to answer his questions. Has there been any further follow-up on that? Do you know what I'm talking about, Pam?
I know about his meter, he had some questions that we needed to ask Johnny.
Yes, yeah, and his question was about, but mainly focused on the word requirement, and then in a different report, the word recommendation, and
Well,
he was trying to get clarification on that.
Really and truly, I think what it is, the city employee that was here is no longer here anymore, and I think when she typed the letter, she put required instead of recommendations, because on the meter study, it says recommendations. It does not say that he had, I mean, so I think she did the letter and it came out wrong.
Okay, but anyway, we were supposed to get him some follow-up on that.
Yeah. Can I say something on that?
Yes.
Can I say something on that subject?
Yeah.
Myself, and twice, as a matter of fact, the last 3 years did not before. We were, and another engineer has looked at it. Prayerfully, before too long, we shall see what this council wants to do. Hopefully, that and another issue that's out there will be solved for long. I hope not. We try. Hope that answers your question.
That's all I had, Mr. Mayor. So, just need to vote.
We voted on
Motion and second, yeah.
No vote.
That's the approval of the minute.
consent agenda. And someone said the motion to adjourn. It's 8:25 at this session of the